This video continues with page 81. Dragon Ball, God of Destruction Chat Group, page 81. For people like you who have never stepped out of the universe, you will think what I just said is evil. Yes, it is true. My kind sister also told me to kill less, otherwise there will be more people after death. Hell. Your sister, speaking of which, hell does have such rules. Wukong thought of what he saw in hell. Those who do evil will be sentenced to hell after death, and their memories will be washed away and reborn, while good people will be keep your body and go to heaven. Yeah, it's true. Vegeta narrowed his eyes. In this way, with a character like my sister, who is always traveling to other planets, concealing her identity as a Saiyan and doing good deeds, she is incompatible with the Saiyan family. With her behavior, there is a high probability that she will go to heaven after she dies. In other words, is there any hope of resurrection? Could it be that my sister had already considered this at that time? Although he thought so in his mind, the expression on Vegeta's face did not change much. Kakarot, let alone anything else. The purpose of my coming to Earth is to borrow the Dragon Balls, so I didn't do anything harsh to your friends. Thank you very much for this, Sun Wukong said. Like Krillin and Dumpling, if they die once, they cannot be resurrected with Dragon Balls. No matter what Vegeta wanted, his actions were indeed not malicious and completely different from Raditz. Can you tell me what you want the Dragon Balls for? Revenge. Vegeta took a deep look at Sun Wukong and said, for the destruction of planet Vegeta, Frieza must give me an explanation. The divine dragon cannot kill enemies of that level. Even if it is used to make a wish, it cannot kill you. The divine dragon cannot make more wishes than the maker of the Dragon Balls. Vegeta's face turned dark when he heard Son Goku's words. Good guy, the people on Earth don't have martial ethics, and they actually want to use the dragon to kill him and Nappa. I want to wish for immortality, but I wonder if this can be achieved. Never mind. He was ready to betray himself, so now he told Kakarot that it didn't matter. I hope Shenlong is not a loser. Immortal, can't I be killed? I'm not sure about this either. Sun Wukong didn't understand Vegeta's thoughts. Vegeta nodded. That's right. Every time a Saiyan recovers from a serious injury, his strength will increase to a certain extent. If there is immortality, it won't take long for me to have strength that surpasses Frieza. Kakarot, you must have felt it yourself. Every time you get injured, your strength will increase. No wonder. Sun Wukong thought about how his strength increased greatly after being injured several times. Vegeta, let's have a fight. No matter you win or lose, I will help you ask for the Dragon Balls from the gods. Goku said. How dare you challenge me when you see me, a superior warrior? Vegeta smiled. I also want to know the gap between me and the superior warriors. Wukong made serious preparations for the battle. Vegeta isn't pretentious either. Then I'll go first. Vegeta, you have to be careful. Sun Wukong roared loudly, and a red light rose in full bloom. 2x Kaio Fist. Vegeta was shocked to see the terrifying arrogance emanating from Son Goku. Is this Kaio Fist the special skill that the group leader said can double the power? Vegeta regained his composure and waved. Bring it on. Goku rushed towards Vegeta with red flames all over his body. Boom! Vegeta stretched out his palm to block Son Goku's fist. Terrifying chi suddenly burst out in all directions from the position where their palms and fists met. With the two people at the center, the energy spread to the surroundings, causing bursts of gravel to fly. Sun Wukong was not surprised when Vegeta grabbed his fist. He stretched out his other hand, made a fist, and hit Vegeta hard. Vegeta jumped hard and got out of Sun Wukong's attack range. The total amount of chi has doubled compared to before, but it can be roughly used at the 8th or 9th level. Is it because of overload on the body? Vegeta looked down carefully. According to this calculation, if the group leader didn't lie to him, Kakarot would be able to activate this state 4 times at any cost, with a full burst of 8,000 combat power. Kakarot's combat power reaches 3.2, which is simply terrifying. Even if his body is unable to fully perform, he is still far superior to his superior warrior. Damn it, what kind of skill can unleash such terrifying power? While Vegeta was thinking, a red light rushed towards Vegeta again. It turned out to be Sun Wukong. He had already arrived in front of Vegeta and waved his fist to attack again. Don't underestimate me, Kakarot. At this time, Vegeta had no intention of being underestimated at all. This is different from the original work. He now completely puts Son Goku on an equal footing and does not even intend to give Son Goku the opportunity to activate triple or quadruple Kaioken. Vegeta stretched out both hands, grabbed Sun Wukong's swinging fist, threw it over his shoulder, and threw it away. Boom! There was a loud noise from the position of the boulder in the distance. The boulder fell apart, and Sun Wukong was deeply trapped in the pile of rocks. 3x Kaio Fist. An even more terrifying aura came from the pile of rocks. Vegeta's expression suddenly changed. Sun Wukong used a faster speed than before, rushed out of the pile of rocks, and hit Vegeta in the chest. Hateful. At the critical moment, Vegeta blocked Sun Wukong's fist. It's actually improved so much. During the collision, a loud sound was heard throughout the sky. Immediately afterwards, Vegeta flew backwards. Feeling a tingling numbness in his hands, Vegeta looked solemn. 2. Kakarot's combat power is at least 2. 3 times the Kaio Fist. Could it be that Kakarot's current energy reaches 3? Vegeta and Sun Wukong fought fiercely again, with a gap of 1 or 2,000. It was not so obvious, and Vegeta was not careless. For a while, the two became evenly matched. At this time, in the chat group, Spider, it's amazing Vegeta is so powerful. The one named Sun Wukong was so scary, the little spider was trembling. It felt like a random energy aftermath could kill her. Why didn't she think Vegeta was powerful at all when Vegeta fought with the group leader? It was really strange. Al, if you can put this kind of angry thing into Gundam, maybe there will be great results. As a mecha boss, Al still feels that close combat is not as gorgeous as a mecha. The world's #1 princess. Vegeta is going to lose, but Sun Wukong still has some strength left. Uchiha Madara. Oh, that arrogant guy is going to lose again. How happy. The world's #1 princess. Are you so happy? At Uchiha Madara, after all, you are a member of the group. There is no need to look at it with colored eyes. I don't want Vegeta to lose. Uchiha Madara. No, I just feel a little emotional. Although I don't know why the group leader said such things, Uchiha Madara, who has been the group administrator for such a long time, still knows a little about words and emotions, and the group leader is unhappy. Uchiha Sasuke, catch the wind and steer the ship. Uchiha Madara, at Uchiha Sasuke, don't think that you can arrange me as you like just because I help you complete your world mission. I am Shura from the ninja world. Uchiha Sasuke, I didn't say anything, I typed it accidentally. Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Sasuke, ever since he learned that he was barely involved in the annihilation of the Uchiha clan, he has become less and less respectful towards his ancestor. After he is resurrected, he must give Uchiha Sasuke a lesson in love. Chapter 86, Goku and Vegeta, a third party intervenes. Son Goku punched Vegeta in the face. Vegeta spat in pain and threw out his right foot. Boom! Sun Wukong was hit hard on the side ribs. Wawa! Sun Wukong spit out a mouthful of blood, his body trembled slightly, and then he shouted loudly. Drink! He released air bombs from his palms and hit Vegeta in the stomach. However, Vegeta took a quick step and pushed the air bomb that was about to hit him high into the air. Page 82. Using the reverse thrust of the air bomb, he increased the distance between him and Sun Wukong. Whoosh! Vegeta gasped for air and wiped the saliva and blood from the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect, Kakarot, that you, a low-level warrior, would actually push me to this level. Goku covered the spot on his right ribs where Vegeta had just kicked him with one hand and wiped the blood on the corner of his mouth with the other hand and said with a smile, You are the one who surprised me, Vegeta. Even though I have been practicing so hard, you still can't. I can't beat you. If he hadn't been killed by Raditz and learned new tricks from the Kaio, I'm afraid he would have faced Vegeta at Piccolo's level, and his ability to fight Nappa would be the limit. Goku could already feel his energy dropping. The load of 3 times the Coyote Fist is too huge for him now. Even if you measure your body, you should be able to activate the 4x Coyote Fist for a short period of time. But it's not necessary, right? Vegeta, you won this battle. HMPH, Vegeta snorted, you still have some strength left, Kakarot. Your Coyote Fist is only 3 times more powerful. If I'm not wrong, you should be able to use it 4 times, right? That's right. Goku was silent for a while, not sure what Vegeta was thinking. With that kind of multiple, my body might collapse the moment it's turned on. Since you are not here to destroy the Earth, there is no need for me to go to that extent. Kaio once reminded Sun Wukong that 3 times the Coyote Fist's current physical strength is already the limit, and 4 times it is completely squeezing his body. In other words, if Nappa and I were to destroy the Earth from the beginning, then you would fight me with the quadruple Coyote Fist. What do you want to do? Sun Wukong was shocked. Don't worry, my purpose has not changed. I am not here to destroy the Earth. Vegeta said, as a white ball of light appeared in his right hand. Sun Wukong was quite surprised when he felt the strange energy fluctuations inside. It doesn't look like an air bomb at all. Kakarot, even if you activate the quadruple Coyote Fist, you will not be my opponent. Vegeta held the ball of light in front of him and glanced at Sun Wukong. Have you ever turned into a giant ape? Giant ape? Wukong was stunned. What is that? Vegeta was stunned and saw that Son Goku's eyes didn't look like he was lying. Therefore, he could only educate Kakarot. After explanation, the basic combat power is 10 times that. That's really terrifying. Wukong said with emotion, in this case, I am indeed no match. At this time, Wukong also thought of something. The death of his grandfather, Sun Wuhan, was probably related to him. As long as you understand, I, a superior warrior, cannot be surpassed so easily. Seeing the red and white flames disappearing from Sun Wukong's body, Vegeta did not attack him. Instead, sync part of your consciousness into the chat group. Vegeta, is the group leader Bellies here? The world's #1 princess. I'm here, Vegeta. Vegeta, see I won. Your judgment was wrong, I didn't lose. Bellies. In the God of Destruction realm, I watched Vegeta squeaking in the chat group. Bellies was speechless for a while. Yes, you win. I made a mistake, okay. Instead of relying on the sense of chi, I taught you back then to attack and dodge. I barely managed to hold off until the power of Sun Wukong's Coyote Fist declined. After all, using chi to sense the enemy and counterattack is much faster than using the eyes, which is why Vegeta is better than the original. But why are you trying to play tricks on me? The world's #1 princess, congratulations. From the past to the future, you finally defeated Sun Wukong once in so many years. Well, even though you won in words. Vegeta, what's the point of winning? He has 3.2 fights with 4 times Coyote Fist. After I transform, it's at least 13. How can I lose? Even if I don't transform, if I continue to fight in Kakarot's situation, it will be, can I win? He, Vegeta, is not a woodpecker, so why is he just paying lip service? In this real strength comparison, I, Vegeta, am stronger than Kakarot. It's not even remotely strong. Seemingly sensing Vegeta's anger from the chat group, Bellies continued to output on the public screen of the chat group. The #1 princess in the world. Vegeta, you have a forward swing in your transformation. You want to be a moon. Sun Wukong doesn't need it. Vegeta, HMPH, so what, the artificial moon has been completed, and the transformation is a matter of blinking. The world's #1 princess. Well, just take it as such, I won't argue with you. Vegeta, who won the argument, almost raised his tail to the sky. But looking at the content of the chat group, something suddenly occurred to me. Vegeta, wait a minute, group leader, why are you saying that I have never defeated Kakarot in the past and in the future? The world's #1 princess. Literally, in other words, in the established future, you and Nappa will be beaten to the ground by Sun Wukong until you and Nappa lose their armor. Vegeta, this is impossible, I am a superior warrior. Before Vegeta could say anything, a sudden voice interrupted him. Roar tilde. It's not the voice of the chat group. Instead, the roar coming from his ears was more like the roar of a large animal. He quickly turned his head and looked behind him. "Vegeta, be careful." Son Goku's exclamation brought Vegeta back to his senses. 2x Kyo Fist. Vegeta was stunned for a moment and saw Kakarot suddenly rushing in front of him, using his skills against the energy wave that was shooting towards him. How can it be? Vegeta looked past Son Goku and saw the giant ape that was attacking. Damn it, Nappa, are you crazy? You can't fully control your transformation. Why are you looking at the moon? Can't you turn your head and look somewhere else? Vegeta could only say, in his heart. With this huge energy wave hitting him, was Nappa planning to rebel? Hateful. Seeing the energy wave released by Sun Wukong, it was slowly suppressed by the opponent. Vegeta didn't think much, and subconsciously crushed the formed artificial moon with force in his hands. I don't need a low-level warrior to save me. Vegeta immediately appeared on Son Goku's right side. Put your hands in front of you and start to accumulate strength. Super Afterburner. Vegeta's special attack and Sun Wukong's turtle-style Qigong merged into one place. This makes the energy wave hitting the opposite side thicker and larger. Vegeta and Sun Wukong, both parties exerted their strength, completely suppressing the terrifying attack released from the giant ape's mouth. Boom! A burst of explosive smoke came out of the giant ape. Vegeta and Son Goku gasped for air. Not bad, Vegeta. Sun Wukong gave Vegeta a thumbs up. HMPH, I don't need you to save me. Even if I'm alone, I won't lose. Vegeta replied coldly. Chapter 87. The two team up to fight Son Gohan. The giant ape was rough-skinned and thick-bodied, and despite being hit by both Sun Wukong and Vegeta, it still didn't suffer much damage, but instead became even more angry. Roar tilde. Scarlet eyes glared at Sun Wukong and Vegeta, as if they were ready to swallow them up at any moment. Especially staring at Vegeta, it was like seeing the enemy who killed his father. Nappa, calm down, it's me, Vegeta. Vegeta shouted loudly. The middle and lower level warriors are troublesome. After transformation, they still cannot control their consciousness, and they are like wild beasts. Unlike a superior warrior like him, as long as he wants to, he can completely offset the impact of the artificial moon on himself, and he can choose between transforming and not transforming. I'm here, Prince Vegeta. Came a loyal male voice. Vegeta was stunned for a moment and quickly looked towards the source of the sound. Nappa. Nappa was a few hundred meters away, waving to him. Page 83, Vegeta was stunned. Nappa is fine, so who is this gorilla in front of me? It's Gohan. Sun Wukong also saw Nappa in the distance. Since Nappa was there, according to the information Vegeta just provided, there is only one who has a tail and can transform. His own son, Sun Wuhan. Your little brat. Hearing Son Goku's uncertain voice, Vegeta twitched the corner of his mouth. I finally understood what was wrong. Nappa transforms into a giant ape, starting with a combat power of 40,000. How could it be possible for Kakarot to block it so easily, even when he and Kakarot pushed back the giant ape's energy? At the time, I didn't think much about it, but now I think about it carefully. Damn it, this giant ape's combat power seems to be more than 20,000, and it may not even reach 30,000. Kakarot, you didn't teach your son that if you can't control the giant ape, why don't you look at the moon? How did you do it before? Vegeta looked Sun Wukong up and down. By the way, where is your tail? Only now did I realize that Kakarot's tail seemed to be missing. No wonder there was nothing wrong with seeing the artificial moon. He thought Kakarot, like a superior warrior like him, could control his own changes. After all, the group leader said he was Vegeta's friend, or even his rival. That's it. It turned out that he was overthinking it. Our family all went to bed early and didn't pay attention to the moon. I took off my tail very early. I just learned from you that Saiyans can turn into giant apes. Vegeta. Are both of them so big-hearted? Kakarot, aren't you afraid of being trampled to death by your son after he transforms in the middle of the night? Hey Saiyan, what happened to that ball just now? Piccolo came from the other side and yelled at Vegeta. Why would Son Gohan transform when there is no moon? Picker, Sun Wukong looked at Piccolo in surprise. Could it be that he had seen Gohan transform into a giant ape? Vegeta, answer my question. Piccolo was really angry. If he couldn't beat Vegeta, he might just roll up his sleeves and fight directly. That's Gohan. He, the disciple of Big Demon King Piccolo, is not just a cat or a dog. Kakarot's son, you're not in a hurry yourself. You're a Namekian, why are you so anxious? Vegeta wasn't angry either, with a rather surprised expression on his face. Look at Kakarot, then look at you. Are you sure Son Gohan is a Saiyan, and not a Namekian mutant? Kakarot is his father, not Son Gohan your son. Sun Wukong was a little embarrassed when he heard this. It seems that he is indeed a bit inferior to Piccolo, Gohan's master. Vegeta, how can Gohan change back? Since it was a transformation, there must be a way to change back to the original state, so Sun Wukong still asked Vegeta. Vegeta looked at Goku and then at Piccolo. I couldn't figure out the relationship between the two, but I still explained. The artificial moon has a certain malleability compared to the ordinary moon, which means that after the transformation, even if the artificial moon is destroyed, it can still last for half an hour. It is a technique developed for conquering planets. Even if it is not as good as the real moon after transformation, it will not have the weakness of losing the ability to transform if the moon is destroyed. Half an hour. Piccolo's face turned green when he heard Vegeta's words. Especially after Gohan transformed into a giant ape, his aura was even more powerful than that of Sun Wukong and Vegeta. Moreover, the two people's aura has dropped a lot because of the battle just now. This half hour, can they hold on? If the giant ape goes crazy and destroys the earth with one move, wouldn't it be barbecue? There are no solutions. While Vegeta was speaking, the giant ape had already charged towards the three of them. The earth was shaking violently, and the sound of boom, boom, boom was like an earthquake. The giant ape punched the ground, kicking up dust dozens of meters high, and cracks thousands of meters long appeared on the surface. The three of them hid in the distance. Compared to Vegeta, who was over 10,000, and Sun Wukong, who activated Kaio Fist, Piccolo wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. This Sun Wuhan is much scarier than his last transformation. Hey, tell me quickly, what should I do? Don't worry, Namekian. Although the skill of condensing two moons has a certain cooldown time, he and Kakarot's combat power of over 10,000 couldn't even defeat the giant ape smashed by Sun Wukong. As long as someone attracts the giant ape's attention and then finds a way to cut off the tail from behind, isn't that what you two did to Raditz before? Is it that simple? What do you think? Vegeta said, Kakarot, we too attract the attention of the giant ape. Nappa, you and these guys can find a way to cut off the tail from the back. Is that okay? Vegeta's eyes turned to Nappa in the distance. No problem, Vegeta. Nappa nodded. Although he didn't know what a certain prince was thinking, he was clearly an enemy just now. Could it be that he and Kakarot had sympathy for each other? However, as a subordinate, Nappa still has some professional qualities. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask, and don't do what you shouldn't do. Kakarot, what about you? Vegeta turned his head and looked at Sun Wukong. As for the other Z warriors, he was a superior warrior with more than 10,000 soldiers. So he was so eye-catching that Piccolo could barely block one of his moves, which made Vegeta look at them differently, but that was it. I'll listen to you. Sun Wukong nodded without thinking too much. He does agree with Vegeta's thoughts. In his opinion, only he and Vegeta can divert Gohan's attention and ensure his own safety as much as possible. Then let's go. Vegeta flew out with arrogance all over his body. Pico, do as Vegeta says. I think he can be trusted. Just this once, don't order me. I just don't want my disciples to destroy the planet I want to rule. Yes, you really care about Gohan. Sun Wukong sighed. Go away, why don't you go ahead? Do you want that Saiyan named Vegeta to be beaten to death by Gohan? Piccolo gave Sun Wukong a vicious look and flew towards the Z warriors. Your name is Nappa, right? It's okay according to what Vegeta said just now. Kakarot, don't worry, I will not disobey His Highness the Prince's request. Nappa nodded. Although Kakarot was a lower-level warrior, he was able to fight Vegeta back and forth and even had the upper hand for a time. Nappa did not dare to show his arrogance, and Vegeta had just made an explanation. After the words fell, Nappa also flew towards the Z-warrior. After the others left, Kakarot flew towards the giant ape. With the giant ape being clueless, Vegeta was already at a disadvantage. Seeing this, Sun Wukong quickly hit the giant ape with a turtle qigong, attracting the attention of the giant ape Sun Wuhan. Chapter 88. The battle ends. Vegeta is unconscious. Sun Wukong ducked sideways to avoid the giant ape's fist, and quickly came to Vegeta's side. It's okay, Vegeta. I don't want you to be meddlesome, Vegeta said coldly without glancing at Sun Wukong. Don't be so cold. Sun Wukong fired another air bomb at the oncoming giant ape to block its attack. Vegeta and Goku missed the giant ape's fist. Kakarot, hurry up and settle the matter here, and then go find the Dragon Balls. Vegeta really couldn't understand why Kakarot was so talkative. Right. Vegeta mentioned business, and Sun Wukong also became serious. No matter what I think later, I need to get rid of Gohan's transformation now. Gohan, I'm Goku, did you hear me? Wukong shouted at the giant ape Sun Wuhan, but what he received was a fist that covered the sky and the sun. Son Goku and Vegeta quickly dodge. Boom! The fist fell to the ground again. After a burst of impact, the ground shook violently. Page 84. While the giant ape was unable to draw his hand, Vegeta accelerated and rushed towards the opponent. A punch hit the giant ape hard. The giant ape's body trembled slightly. The next second, the arm hit Vegeta. Vegeta was shocked and wanted to dodge, but the difference in strength was too great. Vegeta had no choice but to cross his hands in front of him to block. Boom! The strong wind whipped up and the gravel flew. The giant ape's arm hit Vegeta hard. Vegeta was thrown away like a cannonball. Boom! A deep pit of tens of meters appeared on the ground. Wow tilde! Vegeta spat out a mouthful of blood. Vegeta! Sun Wukong was shocked, seeing that the giant ape was about to lift his foot and step on the place where Vegeta fell. He gritted his teeth. 3x Kaio Fist. The red light passed through the giant ape's feet and rescued Vegeta below before the giant ape's huge feet landed. Cull. Tens of meters away, Sun Wukong wiped the sweat from his forehead. Lower Vegeta to the ground. I don't need your help, Kakarot. Vegeta struggled to push away Sun Wukong's arm hanging on him and stood up with his body supported. Don't be brave, Vegeta. Sun Wukong comforted Gohan's current state. Unless you become the giant ape you mentioned before, none of us will be his opponent. HMPH, Vegeta turned his head to the side. How about we make a plan? What's the plan? Find a way to make Gohan lean forward so that the tail is pointing up and it can be easily cut off. Sun Wukong told Vegeta his idea. Okay, do as you say. Vegeta did not hesitate. He also saw that the giant ape seemed to be unable to find them and was about to attack Nappa and others. After all, Nappa was his subordinate. It would not be good to die casually, not to mention that he was still running a live broadcast. If Nappa dies, Prince Vegeta, as the Truth Group said, will become a mere commander without even 2 or 3 big cats and kittens. So Sun Wukong and Vegeta, after combining forces, rushed towards the giant ape again. The target is no longer the huge body of the giant ape, but the opponent's legs. 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches. Keep dodging, keep attacking. The giant ape, which was hundreds of meters tall, could only bend down and kept waving its huge arms, attacking Vegeta and Sun Wukong, who were running around like monkeys. The giant ape bent down and raised its tail involuntarily. Good chance. Z-Warrior and Nappa, who kept looking for the target to hit, finally had the opportunity to take action. Turtle-style Qigong. Devil-penetrating light-killing cannon. Ding-dong-bo. Qigong cannon. The energy was aimed from different directions at Son Gohan's huge tail, swaying in midair after he transformed into a giant ape. Boom! There was a terrifying explosion, sound from the position of the giant ape's butt, carrying gravel and dust on the ground and rolling up bursts of thick smoke. Did you make it? Piccolo, who was very worried about Gohan, was the first to hold back. After the explosion, an upright tail still stayed in midair. On top of it, there was actually a layer of faint milky white air. What's going on? Boo Boo's eyes widened in disbelief. It's the chi on his body. How could it be possible? Nappa was also quite shocked. He actually instinctively attaches energy to his tail to reduce the damage to his tail. Without consciousness, just relying on the instinct of the beast, he would subconsciously guard his tail. Hateful. After Nappa said this, everyone also noticed that the giant ape's tail was covered with a thin layer of chi. Although it was not much, it was not something that they could break through with a few thousand combat power. Get out of your way and let me try. Hearing the sound, there was another ear-piercing sonic boom, and everyone couldn't help but look back. At this time, Klin raised his right hand above his head, holding a golden disc made of condensed chi in his palm. Klin, what are you? Yamcha couldn't help but look at Klin's new move in surprise, as if Klin was the only one who didn't attack just now. Hey, my new trick is just not easy to control. The Z warriors and the others retreated one after another. Although they didn't think Klin's special move, which had more than 1,000 combat power, was really effective, it was hard to say it at this time, wasn't it? Moreover, look at how confident he is. Drink. Kiyun slash. As it was thrown, the disc flew toward the giant ape's tail at extremely fast speeds. Zizzy. The Chi Yuan Jan is like a golden disc, spinning at a terrifying speed and causing violent friction in the air. The giant ape's beastly instinct seemed to sense something. He stepped hard on the ground with both feet and jumped up suddenly. The huge body was like a flexible fat man. The Chi Yuan slash flew past the feet of the giant ape, grazing the ground and cutting it, drawing a terrifying line until it was thousands of meters away. No, it's useless, Klin gasped. After all, the control method of this move was still a bit difficult with his combat power of more than 1,000 and less than 2,000. No, it works. It was Piccolo who spoke. The structure of his ears and eyes were different from those of ordinary people. I noticed very minutely that after the Chi Yuan slash broke through the Chi, there were very slight traces left on the tail of the giant ape. If the giant ape hadn't jumped up to avoid it, there was a high probability that it would have been able to cut off the opponent's tail. Klin, can you still use that trick just now? Piccolo rarely called out Clint's name, which meant that he, Piccolo the Great Demon King, recognized the power of Clint's trick. I'm afraid not. 2 times in a row is too much for me, Klin gasped. Really, it seems we can only find other ways. On the other side, after the giant ape evaded the attack, he angrily wanted to fight back against his people who sneaked behind him, but was stopped by Vegeta and Sun Wukong everywhere. Commonly known as frontal taunting, the giant ape had no choice but to attack the 2 monkey-like guys in front of him again. That move just now. Vegeta, who had slightly dodged the giant ape's attack, thought of the golden disc that had passed by not far away before. With his knowledge, it was easy to see that that was a very good skill. Continuously recalling and summarizing in his mind, he analyzed the structure of Chi Yuan Jan. With a careless move, Vegeta was almost knocked down by the giant ape. He quickly released air bombs at the ground and used the recoil to escape the attack range of the giant ape. Kakarot, help me hold him down for a while, and I'll deal with Son Gohan. Hey Vegeta. Before Sun Wukong could think about it, Vegeta was gone, and Vegeta was already far away from the giant ape. Vegeta opened his right hand and opened and closed it a few times, as if he was adjusting to something. What's Vegeta doing? The Z warriors and others in the distance looked at Vegeta leaving Sun Wukong to hold back the giant ape, and they were going crazy, and they were a little confused. In fact, Vegeta only left the battlefield for about 10 seconds. He charged at the giant ape again, with Vegeta's palms open. A golden disc appeared in the palm of his right hand. Is that Kiyun slash? Klin's eyes in the distance showed an incredible look. Is it possible to use it just by looking at it once. Judging from the movements, it seems to be smoother than his original one. In Krillin's eyes, Vegeta was getting closer and closer to the giant ape while holding his Kai Slash. After escaping an attack from a giant ape, page 85, go. Vegeta aimed at the giant ape's tail and cut it off instantly with the golden Kai Slash. Roar! A stable source of strength after the tail is cut off. The giant ape roared unwillingly, and its huge body quickly shrank. Vegeta, who was behind the giant ape, was about to dodge, but found that his power seemed to be consumed too much. Oops! The giant ape's body smashed into Vegeta's body. Although Son Gohan's body was shrinking, Vegeta was too close, and the heavy pressure directly crushed him to the ground. After a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth, Vegeta's eyes turned black and he fainted. Ding, group member Vegeta is unconscious, and the live broadcast is temporarily suspended. In the chat group, such a voice appeared. Chapter 89 Kurapika, learn the ability to read. The other group members were watching the live broadcast with great interest. Spider, what happened? Why is it gone? Uchiha Madara, the one named Vegeta won't be smashed to death, right? The world's #1 princess. Vegeta is not dead, he just fainted from excessive consumption. The live broadcast will be interrupted when the group members lose consciousness. Well, it can also be regarded as protecting the privacy of the group members. Heihara AI, is this considered privacy? Shouldn't it be broadcast to the end? At the first princess of the world, Vegeta is now in a coma and has no relatives or friends on Earth. In addition, they seem to be looking for trouble before. Heihara AI, will you let the people on Earth kill you later? The world's #1 princess. Don't worry, nothing will happen. No matter how useless Vegeta was, he was still her brother to Bellies. When it comes to Vegeta, Bellies has some backup options. In order to avoid being discovered by some people in Universe 7, there are not many left. But if you want Vegeta to survive, you must at least be above Frieza's level. Ying, group leader, you seem to care about the Saiyan named Vegeta. The group leader never did anything to care for Vegeta, either in words or actions, but Ying always had the feeling that Vegeta was very important in the group leader's heart. The world's #1 princess. Really? Your misconception is just like Spider-Man. Didn't I also help her? Spider-Z. Ooh. Group leader, since you say so, can you help me pass the test of evil God D? The #1 princess in the world. At Spider's Eye, don't go without fighting for 3 days. Go to the house to reveal the tiles. You have become a god. You can handle your own affairs by yourself. Besides, that is an agreement between D and I. It should be agreed in advance. Spider, okay, but I watched that live broadcast called Vegeta, and I feel even more unsure. I don't know what D's test is, and I always feel panicked. Vegeta is awesome, with a combat power of 18,000. The scene in the live broadcast just now looked like a Hollywood blockbuster. Where is evil God D? The strength is probably not as good as that of the group leader, but judging from the previous conversation between the group leader and evil God D. Evil God D is probably not a simple character. Even if the test is very simple for D himself, if it were to be done by someone else, it might be a hellish difficulty. Bailey seemed to notice Spider-Man's panic. After all, evil God D was full of bad taste. The world's #1 princess. Spider, you can actually guess evil God D's test. It won't be too difficult. The world's #1 princess. D will definitely not take action personally. The test is also related to your planet. As for what it is, I don't know. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. Spider, I said it, but it seems like I didn't say anything. Woo-hoo-hoo, poor, weak, helpless little spider. The world's #1 princess. Spider-Man is like this, and Bellies feels immune to it. The world's #1 princess. Is Kurapika here? Kurapika, I'm here, group leader. I've arrived at the Sky Arena. The world's #1 princess. How about it? Have you got the tickets I mentioned before? Kurapika, sorry, I don't know anyone. To get to the 200th floor, you need a certain background. The world's #1 princess. That's it, what about the others? Ding, Kurapika sent a video recording. In the God of Destruction world, Bellies saw an extra video in the group. Read. Bellies opened it. The video is very simple. It is a young man fighting against a big man. There was a strange aura floating around the young man's body. Although it was very weak, it gave his body a strong resilience. Soon, the boy kicked the big man out of the field and won the game. The so-called Nyan is somewhat similar to Chi. Bellies closed her eyes and thought, but is it more about the life level? Compared with Chi, it is not as violent and straightforward as Chi, but has many more strange characteristics. Just like in Jing Qi Shen, Qi and Jing are strengthened, and then some rules can be obtained by using this trick. Well, let me try it first. Bellies slowly closed her eyes. Lion Tang Juan Fa. With the vision of a god of destruction, he can understand the release method of Nyan in an instant. Round. In an instant, the energy covered the entire god of destruction realm. Bellies took a deep breath and stood up from sitting cross-legged. The originally chaotic aura on her body began to gather. I didn't expect that using it at a low level would make it easier to control my chi after transformation. With the memories of the original Hunter x Hunter and seeing Jai-Hee's thoughts flowing through his body in the video, Bellies quickly simulated the general method of using thoughts. To be honest, it didn't improve her strength, but it made Bellies more familiar with her own power. It can be considered as something gained. She can almost control her anger now. As long as her mood doesn't fluctuate too much, she won't get angry and run into random rages again. As for the laws covered in Nyan, Bellies did not touch upon it too much. She can understand, but not too deeply. Because the hunter's weird abilities are not very clever. She is completely immune just by virtue of her own life level. Bellies turned her attention back to the chat group. In the chat group, some people are also discussing Nyan matters. But most of them don't quite understand. Some of this is due to issues such as world laws. Although they are curious, they haven't found out the reason in a short period of time. I only vaguely feel that the Nyan in the Hunter world is very similar to the Chi in the previous Dragon Ball world. The world's #1 princess, Kurapika, enter the arena. I have a way for you to learn to read. In Hunter world, Kurapika, who had just finished a fierce battle and finally reached the 150th floor of the Sky Arena, looked excited. Kurapika, really. The world's #1 princess. Yes, there are 7 or 8 levels of certainty, but there is a certain degree of danger. Kurapika, I'm already prepared. The world's #1 princess and Kurapika enter the arena. Kurapika is a boy with blonde hair and blue clothes. His black eyes give people the feeling of a brother next door. Group leader. Kurapika's voice was trembling. Even if Bellies was just standing there, facing him from a distance, Kurapika would feel an incomparable suppressive force. Just call me Bellies, there's no need to be so nervous. I can't eat you. Yes, Lady Bellies. Kurapika's voice was still trembling, but it wasn't as nervous as before. Kurapika, before I help you activate Nen, I have a few points to tell you. Opening Nen in the arena does not mean that you have learned Nen yourself. Bellies said, after you become familiar with the method in the arena, return to in your own world, you must reopen your mind ability. That is to say, in the arena, you only gain the experience of opening and controlling thoughts. Do you understand? This means I haven't learned how to recite. Yes, which floor are you in the Sky Arena now? Bellies continued to ask. I just reached the 150th floor, so it's a bit difficult now, but I am confident that I can reach the 200th floor. Is that so? That's enough. There's no need to go to the 200th floor. Bellies thought for a while and looked at Kurapika. Let me declare first that this method can only be used by you. Ordinary people, even if they are familiar with it, there is no way to unlock the ability to read by relying solely on experience. You mean I'm not an ordinary person? Page 86. Do you think your eyes make you an ordinary person? Bellies asked back. It seems so. Kurapika probably knew why Bellies said she was not an ordinary person. It's about to begin. Bellies raised her palm, and a powerful energy clung to Kurapika's body. In an instant, Kurapika's physical condition was clearly visible to Bellies. Next moment, Kurapika felt the mysterious life breath spurting out from all parts of his body. Just when Kurapika was at a loss, Bellies' voice came. Use your fiery red eyes, concentrate, and close your pores. In this way, you can learn to recite. At Bellies' reminder, Kurapika began to concentrate, and the energy that was constantly released from his body also slowed down. I do not know how long it has been. Bellies and Kurapika both exited the arena. The live broadcast in the group also ended here. The #1 princess in the world, Kurapika, using the flaming eyes can indeed open the air holes on your body, but it will be very dangerous because you don't have a teacher to help you. Kurapika, I will pay attention, Ms. Bellies. Thank you for your gifts and teachings. Kurapika returned to his room consciously. He took a deep breath. I will definitely learn it. Moreover, just in the arena, the group leader also told him about the general study and application of Nyan. Although he didn't understand it very well, he finally had a direction. As for the oath, because the group leader is not in the hunter world, he doesn't know much about it. He just gave her a general idea and told her to be careful. The water about oaths is very deep. After completing the process of helping Kurapika activate telekinesis, his consciousness returned to the god of destruction. Bellies thought about it and left a message to the unconscious Vegeta. After letting Vegeta wake up, don't make a wish to the Dragon Balls, contact yourself first, otherwise the consequences will be serious. Chapter 90, about the parallel world. Lord Bellies. Suddenly, a familiar voice came to my mind. Cassie. Bellies was stunned for a moment, then asked in reaction. Yes, Lady Bellies, the matter you want to investigate may be a bit complicated. Cassie's voice paused for a while, as if she was thinking about how to organize her words. Is there a parallel universe? Bellies' heart skipped a beat. It can be said that it is, or it can be said that it is not. Bellies, what do you mean? I'm going back now. The specific reasons will be explained to you when I return to the god of destruction realm. It is good. Seeing that Kessie was like this, it was hard for Bellies to ask further questions. The voice in her head fell silent, and Bellies thought about the information that Kessie had just revealed. Yes or no? Frowning, Bellies waited for Angelix to return. She didn't have much time to think about the chat group at this time. The waiting time always passes very slowly. After half an hour, Kessie, who is holding a colorful cube, returns to the god of destruction. What happened? Bellies went straight to the point. The parallel world you care about did not arise, at least not in the entire universe we live in. Then you just... It's not our universe. Bellies shook her head. It's another whole universe. I don't know the specific reason. The differentiation of the whole universe that I observed happened decades ago. What do you mean? Bellies was a little confused. Just like the branching of a tree, a new universe does not appear on our branch, but there was already a branching many years ago. In other words, at that time, a whole universe similar to our world appeared. Kessie explained, and that whole universe seemed to be extremely unstable and was continuing to spawn parallel worlds. Will King Quan care? Bellies asked, thinking. No, as long as the world is not based on our current world and continues to be derived. It has nothing to do with us. Kes saw Bellies worry and said, although I don't know the reason, judging from the information I have observed, our current universe has no longer appeared in parallel worlds since the parallel universe was created many years ago. What's the specific time of its creation? Bellies asked. 20 to 20 years ago, based on my ability, I couldn't accurately judge. Kessie concluded with an uncertain tone. If you want to know the exact time, I can go to the Quanweng Hall and ask the High Priest. No need. Bellies was still a little scared when she mentioned the Great Priest. Kessie, have you determined another reason for the division of the entire universe? Since it is compared to the forking of a tree, it must be different. Well, I didn't go in. Angels are not allowed to step into the parallel universe. Kessie was silent for a while and explained, however, judging from the scenes I observed, that world is in the god of destruction realm in the 10th universe. You don't exist. Moreover, the flow of time in the entire universe seems to be faster than here. Is the god of destruction in Universe 10 still Mr. Rumsey? Bellies fell into silence. Is it because I became the god of destruction that a whole parallel universe appeared? No, this has nothing to do with you. Seemingly sensing the emotion in Bellies' eyes, Kessie shook her head and explained, the world over there appeared earlier than the time you came to the god of destruction realm. If I really have contact with you, maybe. Kessie did not continue. You want to say that I don't exist in that world? I don't confirm this. I have not entered the 7th universe, nor have I been to planet Vegeta. Kessie sighed. Even if you haven't gone in, you can still make some inferences, right? Lord Bellies, you don't need to worry about this. Kessie was silent for a while and said, each universe is different and will not be completely consistent. You are unique now. Kessie continued, although I don't know why, there will no longer be parallel worlds in our current universe. That's it, Bellies sighed. After talking about Kessie's words, Bailey's also vaguely speculated. There won't be a new world unique. Is it the ability of the chat group? To be honest, Bellies' upper limit for chat groups is becoming more and more incredible. With her transformed form, she still couldn't measure the boundaries of the chat group arena, but that was to be expected. Even Bellies felt that the reason why the king and the great priest did not attack her might have something to do with the chat group. Of course, this is just Bellies' speculation. It is impossible to stupidly go to the king and the high priest to argue this point. What if the argument fails? Since there will no longer be parallel worlds in the universe, then this matter ends here. Bellies doesn't want to discuss the parallel universe anymore. Bellies cares about the parallel universe largely because of the King Quan and the Great Priest. Kessie, look at the anger on my body. There was a faint layer of chi exuding from his body, but the way this chi moved made Kessie on the side quite surprised. In particular, Bellies' training, winding, Jew and hair were all displayed. Lady Bellies, is this a newly invented move? No, I just got it by accident. Bellies didn't explain much, what do you think? The way it operates is very special. It doesn't seem to be a cultivation method in the entire universe. After all, Kessie is the oldest angel. Although she is a bit cute, her experience is not low. This cultivation method is very similar to chi. Can it be promoted in the universe? Bellies asked. Well, in theory it's possible. However, it is much more difficult to cultivate than pure chi. Kessie did not refute. This is higher than the universality of the god's eye. You are asking for more than one combat power, Bellies complained. Cultivation at both the life level and chi level is of course more difficult than simply cultivating chi, but his average value is higher. Page 87. Take a look at the Earth in the 7th universe. Apart from the Z warriors, how many people have a combat power of over 1,000? Moreover, with the same combat power, the victory rate between chi essence practitioners and warriors who simply cultivate chi is definitely much higher. What do you think? Kessie didn't refute. There is not much difference between one combat power and 1,000 billion combat power in front of angels. Moreover, with this cultivation method, those with outstanding talents can even come into contact with the laws in advance. How about spreading it on planets with less than 1,000 combat power? I'll do as you say, but it's best to pilot it for a while first, because even I can't judge whether this method of cultivation is suitable for everyone in our universe, Kessie said. After all, the understanding of gods and the understanding of humans are completely different, and they stand in different dimensions. Gods are easy to learn and even master, but when it comes to humans, it's different. Chapter 90, One Arena's Journey. After explaining to Kessie, let him go to the universe to find a planet for a pilot test. Bellies turned her attention to the chat group again. Hey, Arena is doing a live broadcast. Bellies clicked in curiously. The Grey Witch Arena, equipped with her own vehicle, the magic broom, was quietly at high altitude, looking down at the flower fields below. The endless flowers in the flower field look particularly strange when illuminated by the night sky, especially the people who keep moving slowly towards the center of the flower field. There seemed to be thousands of people in the forest. They moved their hard bodies staggeringly, with various smiles on their faces, and they kept mumbling something. The most terrifying thing is that their bodies are wrapped with green vines and flowers. They are getting closer and closer to the center, and their appearance gradually merges with the flowers. Spider, what is this so scary, a piranha? Makura Yuang, it's really weird to be able to absorb life force. Zerf, demonized plants seem to be able to arouse the desires of living beings. Adelina, for the sake of safety, you'd better leave as soon as possible. Across the screen, Zaref couldn't see Arena's current strength, but judging from his previous teachings to Arena, although Arena's talent was good, the magic in that world didn't seem to be very strong. Arena, teacher Zaref, I'm flying very high now, so it should be okay. Zerf, you want to deal with this sea of flowers, are you sure? After all, Zaref is a man who has lived for hundreds of years. From Arena's expression, he can tell what Arena plans to do. Arena, yes, but those people below may. Ying, the humans who approach the Sea of Flowers have long been parasitized by the Sea of Flowers. Unless they replenish their vitality, they won't survive long if they are rescued. Irina, yeah. Uchiha Madara, so that's it. Do you plan to leave the last good time to those people? From the mirror image of the picture, it can be seen that the human beings swallowed by the Sea of Flowers are in an extremely hallucinogenic state before the last moment of life. Aizen Sasuk, at Chinese letter, from my point of view, I don't recommend that you continue to wait. Judging from the fact that the Sea of Flowers can absorb life, the strength of a plant that absorbs the vitality of so many people and controls the entire flower will definitely increase, which is equivalent to putting oneself in danger. Although Aizen Sasuk himself often does this kind of thing, even training Kurosaki Ikigo and keeping Ikamaru Jin by his side, he is him, and Arena is Arena. Aizen, who was scolded by the group leader, ostensibly began to think about the members of the chat group. The world's #1 princess. At Chinese letter, I agree with Aizen. I remember that the magical girls in some books usually do things like you. The end result is that they are caught by the enemy and do strange things. Weird things. Irina book. Weird things, what do you mean? After all, Irina lives in a magical world and doesn't know much about the conditions in certain worlds, let alone some special names. Heihara AI, it's not a good thing. I suggest you don't know, otherwise you may be afraid of the identity of a witch. Ying, at Chinese letter, NUMBERONEPRINCESS, the leader of the group, I'll send some pictures, is that okay? The world's #1 princess. Ying, this is it, picture JPG. The world's #1 princess. Damn it, you idiot. You actually took a screenshot while watching my live broadcast. Are you really the princess of the abyss, not the one who just wants to fulfill his sentence? The image of the picture is very simple. When Bellies went to deal with the planet before, in order to find the core of the demonized plant, she was accidentally caught by the demonized plant. Moreover, these two screenshots show Bellies being tied up by a plant in a rather astringent manner. Irina, this, although I don't understand it, I am shocked. Irina is a witch. Before the trip, her mother Nicole taught her a lot about some things, especially when she saw the leader of the group, Bellies, being tied up by a demonized plant. She quickly thought of something bad. Irina, I would like to ask, is the group leader okay in the end? The world's #1 princess. I was here to investigate the core of the demonized plant. I have to touch the plant with my hands to find it more directly. Please don't think too much about it. Irina, is that so? The world's #1 princess. That's right, at Chinese letter, has your brother gone to the rebels? Ying, not yet, I think it will be soon. The world's #1 princess. At Ying, you asked about the taste of heather before. Is it delicious? Ying, flowers are very similar to Kinksin, but the taste is a bit hard to describe. No, group leader, why are you asking this? Ying realized that she was just thinking about her brother and didn't pay attention. She saw the message in the chat group and answered accordingly. As a result, what the hell? Group leader, if you don't follow martial ethics, you're trying to trick me. I just sent 2 screenshots. What do you think? The world's #1 princess. Tusk Tilda as expected of Ying, she actually has such a preference. Ying, no, don't listen to the group leader. I have never eaten those flowers. It's true, I'm not lying. There is no such thing in Teyvat continent. Hibara AI. Irina, what is Heather? Why is Ying Ying's reaction so big? The adorable new witch Irina looked curious. Ying is the princess of the abyss. What kind of flower can make her so panicked? Is it more terrifying than the demonized plant I am now? Al, I remember that kind of flower is. Forget it, I won't say it anymore. As a high-end programmer, Al's gender is unknown, but he still knows some things. After all, he has lived for so many years and is not bald. Irina, why are you acting like the Riddler? Irina puffed up her cheeks. Spider, at Chinese letter, children shouldn't know such taboo knowledge. It's not good. Ying, that's right, group leader, don't teach Irina a bad lesson. Irina is not as experienced as you. The #1 princess in the world, I didn't say anything. It was you who was always quibbling. Princess of the Abyss, actually? Tut. Ying, stop talking, the society is dead. Ying grabbed her blonde hair with both hands and kept rubbing it until it was messed up. The #1 princess in the world. Okay, I won't say any more, Ying. Next time you tease me, please be careful, young and beautiful girl Ying. Fluorescent. When it comes to young and beautiful girls, a few words come to Ying's mind. 500 years old foundation. As expected, the group leader is a poisonous person. The screen returns to the world where Irina is. Looking at these people walking towards the flower center, the expression on Irina's face became serious. She took out her wand and raised it above her head. A huge fireball slowly condensed at the top of the wand. The fiery red light shines particularly brightly in the night sky. A moment later, a fireball fell from the sky. Accompanied by violent explosions and terrifying burning, the whole flower let out a piercing howl. Tens of seconds passed, and only a scorched black patch remained in the brilliant sea of flowers. After checking that nothing was missing, Irina quickly controlled the magic broom and left the place. At this time, in chat group, Heihara AI, has Irina's strength also become so strong? She was a little helpless that she was just in the everyday world, and there weren't many ways to become stronger. The last time Irina practiced with Zaref, her strength was not too strong, but now she burned the entire sea of flowers in one go. Irina, compared with the big guys in the group, I'm not much stronger. I almost ran out of strength just now, so I left quickly. Page 88. Irina herself knows her own strength, but honestly speaking, her current level is not that great. Zerf, no need to be modest, at Alina in our world, you are already close to an S-class mage. Irina, hey, is it true? Your previous evaluation was sea level. Am I that strong now? Although she still has not been able to defeat her mother so far, she also feels that she is much stronger than before, but she does not have an exact standard. Now, Irina finally knows that she has actually reached the level of an A-level mage. Happy's happy. During the chat, Irina's matter came to an end. The public screen gradually fell into silence, and the group members began to complete their own tasks. After an unknown amount of time, a message broke the silence on the public screen. Ying, do you want to watch the live broadcast? Ying, my brother is really good at causing trouble. I might have to fight with Thor later. Chapter 92, Flowers Scattered Inside. The shadow faces the mountain. Dry Lake Bottom. The final location of the Shenyang Dazu mission. Brother, did your brain get damaged after sleeping for too long? Why do you want to get involved in the affairs of Inazuma's senior management? Ying was really speechless. According to the information coming from the abyss, Thor is collecting the 100th eye of God. Then Thomas, the housekeeper of the society, foolishly became the last sacrificer. Well, that's not important. What's important is that, judging from the information inferred by Fuchsami, Sora is suspected of intending to rob the Thunder God's court. What kind of strength do you have now, but you don't have any idea? Kamisato Yaka and Kamisato Yato, the 2 communicators of the society, did not show up. Why are you so anxious? There is still some time, so don't worry too much. Holding a 6-star exclusive weapon, you are on guard against accidents. The huge roots of the sacred cherry tree were entangled with dirty energy and quickly poured into a certain location. And there stood a Miko wearing a white dress and a red skirt, with a fox mask on her face. Hajai Palace, no, it should be said that Huashanli is more suitable. A creature that inherits part of the memory and personality of Hajai Palace, and is born with the help of earth veins and abyss disasters. Then, the dirt from the tree roots was absorbed by the flowers. In the area where the roots of the sacred cherry tree are located, the aura of depression and disgust gradually disappears. The roots of the sacred cherry tree, which symbolizes Inazuma's faith, emit bursts of fragrance and reveal a holy luster. Still wearing a mask, Huashanli walked up to Ying and bowed. "Thank you very much for your help, Your Highness Princess." "Princess?" Ying narrowed her eyes and looked at Huashanli for a while. "Did you see any information related to me from the sacred cherry tree?" "Yes, Her Royal Highness the Princess of the Abyss Order." "So are you in Huashanli or Hajai Palace now?" Ying continued to ask. "The mission of Hajai Palace has been completed. I am now in Huashanli, but I hope you can allow me. I want to say my final farewell to Inazuma's friends. After that, I will serve you wholeheartedly." Looking at Huashanli, who was kneeling, Ying was silent for a while and said, "Okay, I'm going to Deizuma City later. You can follow me first." "Yes, Your Highness, thank you for your understanding." At this time, outside Inazuma City. "What the hell, why hasn't His Highness come yet?" Fuchikami transformed into the appearance of an Inazuma merchant, stamping his feet nonstop, with an anxious look on his face. "You're not going to go somewhere romantic, are you?" According to the unreliable information circulated in the sect, 500 years ago, the princess traveled to the 7 countries, taking care of both men and women, ranging from an 80-year-old man to a baby waiting to be fed. She was loved by everyone and loved by everyone. "Do you want me to save Her Royal Highness the Princess's blood relatives alone?" Yuan Shang trembled. "What a joke. How can I, a weak clerk, arm wrestle with the 7th governor?" Although the great being had transformed the power of the abyss, it was not easy to be discovered while concealing his identity, and his strength was slightly improved. "Save people." Pulling a tooth out of the God of Thunder's mouth may not be possible even if you risk your life. The skeleton of Orobas is still lying on a certain island. It's vivid in my mind. Deaju's thunder god is different from Mondstadt's Jiu Mengzi and Liu Street. If they don't agree with each other, they draw their swords against each other. "Buzz!" Sensing the aura of the abyss, Yuan Sheng quickly looked behind him. After the abyss portal opened, 2 people walked out of it. One of them is Her Royal Highness the Princess, whom Yu Sheng has longed for. The other one, Her Royal Highness the Princess's concubine. No, you can't think like that. Your Highness, the Inazuma Eye Hunting Order, the collection ceremony of the last God's Eye, is about to begin. "I know, then let's go to Deizuma City first." Ying thought for a while and said, "We will make arrangements later if there is anything." Near the castle tower, Ying, Huashanli, and Yuan Shang looked at the scene in front of the castle tower from a better position. Thomas was tied up and escorted to the gate of the castle tower by 2 guards. At this time, Ying was on live broadcast, but she did not pay attention to the content of the live broadcast. "Yuan Shang, try your best to stop my brother without revealing your identity. You can use whatever reason you want." What do you mean?" Fat Shang was a little confused. "HMPH, there are no people from the society nearby. It's such a good plan. Even if something happens, you won't be caught. Toma is an abandoned son, and Sora is also an abandoned son. If you can successfully save people, that's great, and maybe you can cheat later on. Shi Mingxing also has connections with the rebels, and as expected, he may be recommended to the rebels. If it fails, it has nothing to do with their Kamisato family. A housekeeper dies, an unknown traveler dies, he dies. Moreover, Thor also collected 100 God's Eyes, which made everyone happy. Yes, I'll go right away." Fuchikami was very knowledgeable, and soon wanted to understand the reason and left Ying's side. To be honest, Ying became more and more confused about Sora's brain circuit. If you want to see the god of thunder, it's such a simple matter. Go back to Mondstadt, go to Liu, find the wind god or the rock god, and get the certificate of opening. Then use the tracing point to fly back, one trip at a time plus the time to find someone, up to half an hour. Then enter the castle tower, no one dares to stop you. Even if you take the second step and go to the officials in Mondstadt and Liu to issue diplomatic credentials, it may be difficult for others, but for you, it is not a simple matter. Do you have to work for someone? Just for a little bit of rough stone. If you want to say something, I'll ask Yunshang to bring you some boxes right away. Film. The sound of light cloth in the flowers pulled Ying back from her thoughts. At this time, in the chat group, the group members saw the appearance of Thor through live broadcast. Wearing a purple kimono with gentian flowers on it, and a black and gold shoulder armor on his left shoulder. A purple braid hangs down behind her, her purple eyes are slightly deep, and there is a tear mole on the corner of her right eye. Uchiha Madara. Is this woman the thunder god of Inazuma? It does give people a strong sense of oppression. I wonder how it compares to Liu's Morax. The moment the god of thunder stepped out of the castle tower, the originally clear sky darkened. Judging from the live broadcast, the entire Daiazu, and even the wider area outside Daiazu City, were shrouded in dark clouds. Page 89. In the clouds, there are even heart-stopping lightnings beating from time to time. The world's #1 princess. The overall strength is not as good as Morax. If you only care about martial arts, it's hard to say. What you see now is not the god of thunder, but a doll she made with her own god's body. Unlike a street kid like Morax, Lei is autistic. Oh no, he has been in seclusion for 500 years. I really thought he was reading light novels and eating meatballs in there. Spider doll, what do you mean, isn't it a real person? The world's #1 princess. They say it's a doll, but of course it's not a real person. The real god of thunder hides in this body as a soul to practice, which is equivalent to the separation of body and soul. Bellies explained to the group the relationship between Thunder movie and General Thunder. Chapter 93, Outside Inazuma City, Ying and Lei movie. Aizen Sasuke, transforming your body into a new life, interesting technology, genius idea. Aizen Sasuke is very curious about the technology of Ray Cinema. The newly transformed doll is actually only slightly lower than Thor in terms of strength. Not only that, Aizen also heard from Bellies that the god of thunder had created a doll from scratch, although it was not as good as the current Raiden General, but it still had an independent personality. Isn't this more interesting than Urahara Kisuke's technique? Ying, at Chinese letter YOURSUKE, please don't be curious. I don't know this technique, and I don't want to quarrel with other gods. That time in Liu, was it because of Osul, and it was related to the plan to shake the Sky Island, Dao wife. If it weren't for Sora's excessive manipulation, she wouldn't even want to deal with it. Aizen Sasuke, really that's really a pity. Even after Yingdu said so, Aizen had nothing to do. Unless he could travel to Teyvat, he would just be jealous. Besides, it is exponentially more difficult to pry open the gods' mouths and obtain technology. Live. General Thunder slowly stretched out his palm and pointed it at Thomas. In the palm of his hand, a blue-purple electric arc emerged. The next second, the eye of fire god wrapped around Thoma's waist fell into the hands of General Thunder. There were no twists and turns, no surprises, no interceptions. It was just so simple, so easy. General Thunder and Lightning collected the 100th Eye of God. Take the person down and lock him up. After speaking to the Inazuma soldier next to Toma, General Raiden prepared to inlay the Eye of God into the statue. The hand that was slowly raised suddenly paused. Then throw the Eye of God to the guard next to you. It's up to you to do the inlaying. Then General Thunder's purple eyes turned cold. Exceptions are eternal enemies. Immediately, the body turned into purple lightning and flew towards Inazuma's center. At this time, the traveler Sora, who was about to go to the castle tower, was blocked by Fuchikami, who transformed into an Inazuma merchant. You said you have information about my sister. I always feel that something is wrong with this person. Ah, that's right. If you want to know where Diane Ying is, then come with me. You're lying. You do smell like fire, but what are you hiding in your words? Kong thought for a while, and now he was going to save Toma. Having seen Ying's weapon before, it was inferred that it had basically recovered its strength and even become stronger. There is no need to worry about her matters. If you want to see him, you can come directly to meet him. She has her own difficulties, you. Suddenly, Yuan Shang's expression changed. The breath of thunder and lightning. Fuchikami immediately grabbed Sora's shoulders and tried to drag him out of Inazuma Castle. Although Sora lost most of his strength, his body's instinctive reaction was still there. He immediately took out his edgeless sword and blocked Yuan Shang's outstretched hand. What do you want to do? Get away from Dao Wife quickly, or it will be too late. What? Before Kong could react, the body of the rich merchant in Fucheng began to disappear, and his body became burly. There was a faint feeling of depression coming from the body. Diabus. Sora and Payman's pupils shrank. Take care to protect yourself. Black mist rose in front of Yuan Shang. Almost at the next moment, purple thunder fell from the sky. Violent lightning flashed from Inazuma Castle to outside of Inazuma Castle. The lightning was raging, and the ground seemed to be burned. Boom! The purple thunder and the black mist of the abyss collided violently. The surrounding trees withered quickly. Yuan Shang put his hands on the ground and gasped for air. Behind him were the traveler Sora, who was protected by him, and the emergency food Payman. The god of thunder stood not far in front of Yuan Shang, his exclusive weapon flashing with lightning. Her tone was indifferent and murderous. If you step into the abyss, Rice Wife deserves to die. Hihi harohata. Fuchikami trembled and laughed, as expected of Narukami, one of the 7 rulers of the world. If I were not in Inazuma Castle, I would not be able to withstand your attack. The other party was worried that the power of the abyss would be destroyed during the battle with Deaju, so he had to forcefully push himself out of the city. Otherwise, with his current ability, it would be impossible to receive Narukami's blow so easily. It was even more impossible to protect the air and emergency food behind him safely. However, as a clerk who is not good at combat, being able to block Thor's blow without getting hurt is enough to brag to his colleagues. Exceptions are eternal enemies, and the abyss is even more the enemy of Inazuma. Thor said again, but his voice did not have the previous mechanical program. Your eternity is meaningless. General Thunderbolt, no, Balzabal. Golden light fell from the sky, and a sense of oppression suddenly appeared in the air, which shocked Lei Kainkyu. Where's the god? Lei Movie paid attention to where the golden light fell, and actually felt that the thunder element he controlled was isolated within a certain range, and could not spread to the direction of the traveler. On the other side, hearing a familiar voice, the look on Sora's face became incredible. Fluorescent. Looking at the petite blonde figure who suddenly appeared, Sora's body trembled instinctively. Ying didn't answer Sora's question or even talk to him. Who are you? Lei Yue was surrounded by purple electric light. The pressure brought by the girl in front of her even made her feel as if she was no weaker than Morax. As expected, the only special ones are the wind god and the rock god, Ying murmured. As a traveler to the 7 countries, Ying has also seen thunder movies. Forget it, whether the memories of the 7 rulers in the world have been modified by World Tree. What does it have to do with her now? Hua Sanli took Thomas with him, used the Abyss portal, and met the 2 principals of the society, Kamisato Yaka and Kamisato Yado. Shi Fengxing, you have gone too far. He casually threw Thomas and his Eye of God aside. Hua Sanli wore a mask, but the aura he exuded put great pressure on the 2 leaders of the society. The filthy flowers that had been absorbed by the sacred cherry tree for hundreds of years released the shadowy energy that was definitely not something that the 2 owners of the god's eyes could withstand. Who are you? Kamisato Ayaka said with difficulty. Even Toma, who was knocked unconscious and dropped to the ground, had no time to care. Using travelers to test Narukami, Sheshu, you are playing a big game of chess. No matter you win or lose, You can take it out to avoid being angered by the god of thunder. Moreover, Toma is a citizen of Inazuma, and the god of thunder will most likely not kill him. After being deprived of the god's eye, it is still possible to redeem him, but Traveler, I don't know. Maybe it would have been dead long ago, after being struck by a knife. I don't understand what you are talking about. Toma was caught, and we only just found out. Kamisato Yato tried his best to keep calm. Page 90. Maybe you just followed suit after knowing what happened, but what does this have to do with me? Hua Sanley's voice was light. She had absorbed the calamity of the abyss, and even her plain words contained a hint of indifference. But, after completely absorbing the disaster, Hua Sanley possessed most of Hujai Palace's memories and was quite clear about the family's common tricks. Because of this, she felt angry. Hua Sanley's voice became slightly colder and he said, "Do you know that if something happens to a traveler in Daeaji, the entire Daeaji will be buried with him?" With Ying's help, Hua Sanley could safely absorb the disaster of the abyss. But because of this, Hua Sanley glimpsed some of Ying's memories through the special nature of the sacred cherry tree. Princess Ying of the Abyss, and a leader who can kill Morax with ease. No matter which one it is, Ine wife can't offend him, especially the latter. Hua Sanley doesn't even have the courage to peek at his appearance. Boom! There was a loud noise in the distant sky. Thunder and another dark energy split the entire sky in two. Not good. Hua Sanley's expression suddenly changed color. Did Ying and His Highness get into a fight? She knew she had to stop it, and immediately reached out to open the abyss portal. The society adheres to it, you can do it yourself. Before the Shenli siblings could react, there was no trace of Hua Sanley in front of the portal. Chapter 90, For Battle in Foxshai Palace. It's so scary, Tilda. Payman, who was shivering and hiding behind Sora, put his hands on Sora's shoulders and peeked out ahead, his whole body trembling. Traveler, your sister is so powerful. She can actually defeat the god of thunder. During the Osul incident, Payman also saw Ying, and even saw Ying easily knock off one of Osul's heads. But that's only part of Osul's power, not the real devil. Not to mention, the 7 mortal rulers at the top of the demon god. Of course, it doesn't matter whose sister you are. Kong was also paying attention to the battle in the sky. With the 3 elemental powers, he was no longer something that Dada Duck could match. But compared to your sister, you are so weak, Traveler. I'm also very strong, okay? What emergency food said left Sora speechless? It would be great if Payman could be your sister's traveling companion. She is so strong, I definitely don't have to sleep in the open like this. Perhaps every meal will be big fish and meat, and maybe there will be people to serve it. As he spoke, Payman burst out laughing. Payman, you are going too far. You are the one who eats the most and the best, Sora said with a dark look on his face. He ate 200,000 molera of emergency food a month, and still thought he was sleeping in the open. If you eat less, won't we be able to live better? Also, I'm not weak either, okay? It's just that the strength has not been restored. In the sky, the battle flashed with violent energy, and Sora was actually very frightened. Although the strength is not there, the vision is still there. Ying's current fighting power is much stronger than when she fought against the maintainer of heavenly principles. Even just thinking about it, it might not be a big problem to take down Inazuma's thunder god. And, from the corner of Sora's sight, he glanced at the abyss creature next to him that used a barrier to protect himself and Payman. Known as the Abyss Chanter on the Abyss, his own strength cannot be underestimated. His nickname for her is Princess. Ying, did you join the Abyss? Sora, with his mind full of questions, tentatively asked Fachikami. The answer I got was, if you want to know anything, ask Her Royal Highness yourself. He couldn't say it, and he didn't dare to say it casually. There was no other way. Sora had no choice but to settle down. He looked up at the extremely strange sky that was rendered by the black mist of the abyss and thunder. High in the sky, the Reikage holding the Nagi no, Ine Hikari was facing away from the 6-star exclusive artifact he was holding. During the fierce confrontation, Lei Movie was always at a disadvantage. In comparison, Ying is relaxed and freehand. The expression on Lei Kaienqian's face was extremely serious. Balzeb, is this the eternity that you are close to the law of heaven? Ying looked at Lei's movie and said calmly, in my opinion, just like the precarious rice wife you manage, it will be destroyed at any time. Ying disappeared on the spot and appeared in front of Lei movie in an instant, raising his weapon and slashing at Lei movie. The exclusive weapon attached with the power of the abyss disperses the light of the abyss and quickly emits a layer of elemental luster. Reikage was suddenly startled and swung his naginata to block. Bang! In the clash of weapons, strong elemental fluctuations erupted from the blades, and a range of tens of kilometers was enveloped by the ripples of elements. In the blink of an eye, Lei Xingqing was knocked away, and there was still a look of shock in her eyes. How is it possible? There are 7 elemental powers. The naginata swung and stopped in the air. The hand holding the weapon trembled slightly, but he could not hide the horror in his eyes. Without the eye of God, it seems that he is not a demon. Not only does he master the 7 elemental powers, but he can also use the power of the abyss. Who are you? Although he didn't want to admit it, after a short period of fighting, Lei Kaienqian knew that he might not be able to beat the opponent. This was the feeling of powerlessness she had only when she learned the true news of her death 500 years ago and faced the law of heaven. Although it was not as strong as it was then, it was certain that the blonde girl in front of her was far more powerful than her. You should have guessed who I am, shouldn't you? Hearing this, Lei Kaienqian was silent, and it took him a long time to squeeze out 2 words through his teeth. Abyss. 500 years ago, the other 7 gods, except King Dasai Shu, obeyed the call of heaven and went to destroy Canria. And that was also the beginning of all disasters. The first generation thunder god Zhen, his sister, died in the Battle of Canria to destroy the country. Canria launched a devastating revenge on the 7 kingdoms, and the black mist of the abyss swept across the 7 kingdoms. In addition to his sister Raiden Shin, his friends Kyusei and others also died in Canria's revenge. She could not comment on whether it was right to destroy the country of Canria. But after that, she lost almost everything. I was so heartbroken that I wanted God to give me an explanation. But everything is in vain. In order to preserve Zhen's last legacy, and to prevent an wife from being destroyed by heaven, she chose eternity, because only eternity is the closest to heaven. What happened 500 years ago is not enough. What else do you want to do to Dao wife? Lei Kaienqian had murderous intent on his face. Ine wife is Zhen's last legacy, and no one is allowed to destroy it, even if it's God's will. The former Kagemusha has also changed a lot. Ying did not launch an attack on Thunder movie, but said in a calm tone, compared with the disasters in the 7 kingdoms, isn't Canria even more miserable? Countless subjects endured the curse of immortality, and even turned into monsters like Kyukyu people. The pain of the 7 kingdoms is not as great as the misfortune of the subjects of Canria. Canria's pain is far greater than yours. Are you from Canria? Lei Kaienqian looked at Ying. She only knew that he was related to the abyss, but his appearance did not look like the people of Canria. After all, the symbol of Canria was the eyes. Special pupils like raw stones. It doesn't matter who I am, Ying said. That young man named Kong is my brother. If something happens to him in Daeazu then, Daeazu will no longer need to exist. You're threatening me. As the 7 rulers of the world, this was the first time she was threatened. The clouds in the entire sky were suddenly filled with terrifying thunder and lightning, as if they were about to pour down at any time. If you think so, then so be it. The eternity you pursue is meaningless. As long as I want to, even if you try to stop me, I can destroy an wife at any time. Ying said, her voice paused. She glanced behind her from the corner of her eye and said to Lei Movie, page 91. Have you seen this abyss chanter? There are not even 1,000, but also 800 such abyss creatures in my hands. How much hope do you think you have of winning? After hearing Ying's words, Lei Kaienqian fell silent. The abyss chanter called Abyss Shang is very powerful, even close to the lower demon god. If he explodes with all his strength, it is not impossible to fight the lower demon god with the specialness of the power of the abyss. 1,000 or 800. If the other party, really, had so many powerful apostles of the abyss in their hands. Not to mention Dao wife, plus Liu and Meng, they may not be able to be pushed down by the abyss. It's enough to prevent this young man from having an accident in Dao wife, right? Lei Movie didn't dare to bet on what would happen to Dao's wife after killing this boy. That's right, as long as you gods or people related to gods don't do it, his life or death doesn't matter, and it has nothing to do with you. Even if I am killed outside and my body is exposed in the wilderness, I just deserve it because I am too weak. I will not take my anger out on you. In the distance, Kong almost spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard what his sister said. What does it mean to be killed outside and exposed in the wilderness? You deserve it. Ying, are you really my sister? Why has his character become so bad after not seeing each other for hundreds of years? Chapter 95, Brother, see you at the end of the journey. Come yet. Ying flicked his hand and put away the weapon. Lei Yingying saw it in the distance and frowned slightly, but without saying anything, he also put away his weapon. At this time, an abyss portal appeared near the abyss. A woman wearing a red and white witch costume, with a fox mask on her face, walked out. Noticing the Miko appearing outside the portal, Raiden couldn't help but take a second look. Miko costume at Narukami Taisha Shrine. She actually felt a familiar feeling about this Miko. Fortunately, nothing happened. When I walked out of the flowers, I saw the light and thunder in the sky, and I was relieved. No matter who of the two was injured, it was not what Hua Sanli wanted to see. With such a voice, you are. A rather familiar tone came to mind, but it was hundreds of years ago. Long time no see, Ying. Hua Sanli took off his mask, revealing an appearance that was very similar to Hajai Palace. Vokshe Palace. The purple eyes widened, and Lei Kaienqian's voice trembled a little as he spoke. Although her hair and hair color are different from before, the outline of her cheeks can still be clearly seen. The shrine maiden in front of her is the Foxai Palace that was swallowed up by disaster 500 years ago. Not only the appearance, but also the breath and tone of voice are very similar. If this can all be false, you are still alive. Lei Kaienqian's voice trembled as he spoke. Actually, it was Her Highness the Princess who saved me. Hua Sanli saluted Ying first, and then turned his eyes to Lei Movie. I have been under the sacred cherry tree before. Sacred cherry tree. Lei Qingqing thought for a moment, why don't you come back? And you don't want to go find the Son of God. I can't leave too far, you know the reason. In fact, I only have the memory and part of the soul of Hajai Palace. I don't know whether I count as Hajai Palace. He stretched out his palm from the scattered flowers, and purple-red abyss energy appeared in his palm. Abyssal disaster, that's it. Seeing the abyss energy in Hua Sanli's hand, Lei Movie understood. 500 years ago, the Fox Palace was swallowed up by the disaster of the abyss, and the disaster has been stored under the roots of the sacred cherry tree, and the sacred cherry tree was performed by Yi Shenzi. Can you stop fighting? I know I may not be qualified to say such things. The flowers dispersed and asked Ying and Lei for their opinions. Ying nodded. Since Yingdu said there was no need to continue fighting, of course, Lei Movie would also find a way out. Besides, she was always the one at the disadvantage in the battle. The three of them returned to the ground together. In addition to them, there were also travelers and paymen who were protected by Abyss, and they also landed one after another. Hua Sanli, you can wait until you finish your work before looking for me. Don't worry. Ying said and opened the Abyss portal and walked in with Yuansheng and his brother. Thank you, Your Highness Princess. Hua Sanli bowed again to Ying, who entered the portal. Hu Zhai Palace. Looking at Hu Zhai Palace bowing to Ying, Lei Qiu was a little bit amused. Ying, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Maybe I shouldn't say this. It's the first time we've met. Hua Sanli said with a smile. No, you are Hu Zhegu, and I will never forget your taste. Shadow said through gritted teeth, as if he was really afraid that the Miko in front of him was not someone he knew well. Seeing Ying like this, Hua Sanli didn't refute. He glanced sideways and said to the hiding place, Son of God, why are you hiding now that you're here? At the corner of the stone pillar, there was a whisper, and the pink-furred fox Yi Shenzi came out from behind. I vaguely felt your aura before. I thought it was my illusion. I didn't expect you to still be alive, Huzhai Palace. I just inherited the memory and part of the personality of Huzhai Palace, and was born through the abyss and the earth's veins. Even I don't know who I am, so you should call me Hua Sanli. Shadow and Yi Shenzi looked at each other, but in the end, they still did not insist on the name Foxeye Palace. On the other side, near Shadow Mountain, Ying, taking Abyss, Sara, and a certain emergency food, walked out of the Abyss portal. Hua Sanli has rescued Toma, you don't have to worry. After a long silence, Ying opened her mouth to break the heavy atmosphere. Brother, you have to be more careful when doing things in the future. The Kamisato family is taking advantage of you. I know. Sora didn't seem surprised. I'm just returning Toma's favor. He had just arrived in the rice field and was unfamiliar with the place. If he hadn't met Thomas, he wouldn't know what he would have done. Save people, are you saving people? You are risking your life. Ying patted his forehead, feeling helpless. You know everything, but you still have to gamble on the probability of success. It was only 500 years ago. Why would my brother become like this? Brother, if you want to see the god of thunder, can't you think of a simpler way? Whether it's the wind god, the rock god, or Mondstadt, or Liu officials, you can get a plan to meet the thunder god. So why would you choose a method full of thorns that will be exploited by others? You don't really want to be Kamisato Ayaka's dog, do you? Forget it. Seeing that Kong didn't answer her question immediately, Ying thought for a while and didn't ask any more. Anyway, brother, when I'm not around you, you have to pay attention to your safety. Ying, what exactly do you want to do? Moreover, the abyss. Dainsreb, I told you, right? Ying said disdainfully, brother, don't you know that we have traveled so many worlds? Except for rare cases, justice and evil are mostly caused by different stances. Behind Ying, the abyss portal appeared again. Brother, I have really left this time. Maybe we will meet again at the end of the journey. Please leave your own footprints on the Teyvat continent. After traveling to the 7 countries, we will meet again. At that time, I will look forward to your choice, whether it is to join hands to fight against the enemy, or... Ying didn't say any more. Her body and Yuanshang's body disappeared into the portal. Your sister is gone. Payman looked at Sara, and then at the portal that was about to disappear. Aren't you going to chase it? Kong shook his head. It's enough to know that Ying is safe now. For the rest, we'll see you at the end of the journey. Sora, your sister seems to be from the other side of the abyss, Payman said worriedly. Well, yeah, what's the problem? No, it's nothing. Payman shook his head vigorously. In the chat group, the world's #1 princess. At Ying, I thought you would take your brother away. Ying, traveling to the 7 kingdoms is the journey that my brother should take. I will not interfere. I will ask Hua Sanli to pay attention to Kong's safety. In short, if nothing happens, I may not look for him in a short time. Heihara AI, Ying, why don't you let your brother comprehend all the elemental powers before traveling? You can travel freely among the 7-day statues, right? Since you can get an elemental power every time you touch a country's 7 heavenly god statue. Ying just grabbed Sora, and it didn't take long to travel around the Teyvat continent. Ying, I won't do this. On the Teyvat continent, he needs to leave his own footprints. Interfering too much will not do any good to Kong. Page 92. Ying, I have already thought about it. Even if Sora is killed, he can still survive with the Dragon Balls in the group. There is no need to worry too much. The world's #1 princess. If your brother hears these words, he might burst into tears. Good guy, he was considered before and after his life, and he is worthy of being the princess of the abyss. Ying, when he flirted with the girl from Tiwat mainland, he never thought about whether his own sister was in dire straits. This guy Sora knows that Kamisato Ayaka is using him, and he still puts his face towards it, so why does she care? The world's #1 princess. You really hold a grudge, Ying. The matter in Teyvat has come to an end for the time being. At this time, the world of Naruto. A Baiju was placed in a strange formation. Reincarnation of dirt. After the ultimate wailing, the reincarnation of the dirty earth began to exert its strength. A male ninja wearing a red Sengoku armor and looking like a killer appeared in front of everyone. This man suddenly released terrifying chakra. Sasuke and Orochimaru, who were not far away, quickly defended themselves to avoid being blown away by this violent chakra. Reincarnation from dirty soil is not a natural technique of reincarnation. That boy Nagato, did something happen to him? However, it is such a simple sentence. But Sasuke and others, especially Orochimaru, suddenly changed their expressions and quickly tried to control the man's body. Little devils, forbidden arts cannot be used casually. The man quickly formed a seal and instantly slapped his palms on the ground. Reincarnation of Dirty Soil Solution. Chapter 96, Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Madara Part. What should we do, Lord Orochimaru? With a swish sound, Shuyu broke into a cold sweat. I don't know what Uchiha Madara did just now, but I always feel that something bad will happen. The control of the reincarnation of the Dirty Land was taken away by Uchiha Madara, which means that if there is an accident, we may all die here. Orochimaru's gloomy voice lingered in everyone's ears. Seeing that Sasuke remained calm and composed, Orochimaru couldn't help but feel relieved. But even if something happened, only everyone present would die, not all Orochimaru. If one Orochimaru dies, there are still thousands of Orochimaru alive. If you want to kill him, wait until the Sage of Six Paths kicks open the coffin board. Uchiha Madara is not qualified yet. What Orochimaru said made Suijutsu panic. Orochimaru had many lives, but she, Suijutsu, only had one life. Even if she turned into water, she would not be able to escape from Madara Uchiha's hands. I just said I don't want to come over. If you insist on letting me come, the next thing will be done. Shut up, Shuyu, you can't stop chirping. With one punch from Xiang Phosphorus, Shuyue's head exploded into countless water droplets. However, Suijutsu's head quickly returned to its original state, without any injuries, after using the water transformation technique. Hey, Xiang Phosphorus, do you want your friendly side to reduce its numbers before the fight starts? The people of Eagle Squad were making a lot of noise. Sasuke's eyes were always fixed on Uchiha Madara, and the six-pointed star kaleidoscope in his eyes slowly rotated. Just the next moment, a palm with 5 fingers spread out appeared on Uchiha Sasuke's face. Before anyone could react, Uchiha Sasuke flew out. Boom! There was a loud bang. After hitting the stone wall more than 10 meters away, dense cracks suddenly appeared on the smooth stone wall. Sasuke! Xiang Lu was the first to come to his senses and shouted at the top of his lungs. Regardless of the difference in strength, several golden chains stretched out from behind and attacked Uchiha Madara. The weak Uzumaki clan. All the diamond chains stopped within half an inch of Uchiha Madara. It was like being blocked by an invisible force field. Uchiha Madara crossed Orochimaru and others and rushed towards Sasuke. No, Sasuke, run away. With Uchiha Madara away, the Vajra chain regained its mobility. Karin subconsciously manipulated the diamond chain and chased Uchiha Madara, trying to buy Sasuke time to escape. Stop it, Xiang Phosphorus, this is a pointless act. A palm rested on Xiang Li's shoulder. Lord Orochimaru. If you do this, you will only anger Madara Uchiha. Do not want. Kiaru pushed away Orochimaru's hand on his shoulder and chased after Uchiha Madara. Even if it was only for a moment, she would stop Uchiha Madara from hurting Sasuke. Xiang Phosphorus flew back before taking a few steps. Jugo, catch the phoenix and tell her that this is Uchiha's family matter, and tell her to leave it alone. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and ordered Jugo. Zhangwu nodded and caught the fragrant phosphorus flying back. Really? Seeing that there was no trace of damage on Xiang Ling's body, Orochimaru understood something in an instant. On the other side, Uchiha Madara, who caught up to Sasuke, raised his right hand and called to Uchiha Sasuke's head. Susanoo. A purple Susanoo skeleton rose from Sasuke's body. However, when Uchiha Madara's fist came into contact with Susanoo's frame, it was not bounced away by the recoil. The chakra of Susanoo's skeleton began to show signs of melting. Similar to Kaguya, Uchiha Sasuke's pupils shrank. Uchiha Madara actually has the ability to melt Suzanu's chakra. Sasuke received a heavy punch on his right cheek. Then came the second punch, and the third punch. Left hand, and right hand. Uchiha Madara played very rhythmically. Yeah, by a CD. Strange sounds kept coming from the positions of Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Sasuke. Let me go, Jugo. Sasuke will be beaten to death. Kabuto struggled to escape from Jugo's hands, but was held tightly by Kabuto, Jugo, and Suijutsu. Haha, it's only been 5 minutes. If you were to die, you would have died a long time ago. After all, he was a man who had done many spies. Kabuto gradually saw the clues, and he felt relieved for a while. Damn it, Uchiha Sasuke, look at how awesome you are. After being a father to Lord Orochimaru for so many years, he finally received his retribution, and it was his ancestor who took care of him. Nothing else is important. What is important is that Uchiha Sasuke was beaten. This is the key. Finally, the sound of fists hitting flesh gradually stopped. Uchiha Madara let out a long sigh of relief, with a hint of dissatisfaction in his tone. Sure enough, it's so refreshing to reincarnate and beat people up when there's no arena. Uchiha Sasuke was pinned down by Uchiha Madara. There are 2 more black panda eyes on the face, especially the eye sockets, and the cheeks are also swollen. Are you comfortable, Uchiha Sasuke? I told you before I called you that I will make the most of it. Uchiha Madara sat on Uchiha Sasuke's lap, his hands wrapped around his chest, and the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan looked down. Haha, Uchiha Sasuke had a bruised nose and a swollen face, but he sneered. A grown man who has been a clan leader can be so stingy. No wonder Senju Hashirama was snatched away by Uzumaki Maido. What do you mean? Uchiha Madara didn't react for a while. Then, as if he thought of a certain indifferent spider in the group, making fun of himself, Uchiha Madara's eyes suddenly jumped. You still want to be beaten, right? Let me tell you, Hashirama and I are innocent. It's not the situation you think. Yes, a weakling who was abandoned by Senju Hashirama. Uchiha Sasuke, you damn. Uchiha Madara raised his fist and was about to swing it down again. Don't mess around. I've already sent the video of you bullying someone to the group. Uchiha Madara, page 93. Damn it, Uchiha Sasuke, you don't have martial ethics. Post the video of me beating you in the group. Are you shameless? Uchiha Madara's expression suddenly changed, and he quickly checked the status of the chat group. Sure enough, there was an additional message sent by Uchiha Sasuke on the public screen. The administrator, Uchiha Madara, bullies the weaker members of the group, punches and kicks them. In addition, there is a short video below, which is the scene of Madara beating Uchiha Sasuke violently. Madara Uchiha was numb. Uchiha Madara, that video, is our great Uchiha family's special education method for the younger generation. Don't think too much about it. This can't be misunderstood. As one person below 10,000 people, he is the only administrator. If you are revoked as an administrator by the group owner, it will be a big loss. Administrators have benefits, including a 8% discount on items purchased. For example, Dragon Ball, Sasuke needs 5,000 points to use Dragon Ball, but he can redeem it with 8 points at a 4,000% discount. Before, he also wanted to use the Dragon Ball to resurrect, but he could not find the stone to imprint the Dragon Ball in the Pure Land. When he wanted to ask the group leader for some information, Uchiha Sasuke joined the group, and then Uchiha Madara gave up on the idea of resurrection and made a supplementary episode. After learning the truth about infinite Tsukuyomi, Uchiha Madara suddenly felt like the sky was falling. Resurrection or not, it seems that the meaning is not very important, so I just put it aside. Until the group leader issued a world mission to Uchiha Sasuke. Chapter 97, Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Madara, Part. A Sakura Leaf King, why don't I believe in the Uchiha clan's special education method at all? Don't you think your descendants don't like it and want to beat them up? The Asakura Yi King, who is riding on the fire spirit, is recruiting people for the upcoming Shaman King competition. Seeing the ferocious picture of Madara Uchiha in the chat group, he couldn't help but make fun of him. Spider, that I don't believe it either. At Uchiha Madara, could it be that Sasuke said something to you before, and then you took revenge? At Uchiha Sasuke, is there such a thing? Uchiha Sasuke, at Uchiha Madara, do you think I should say yes or no? Uchiha Madara. Looking at Sasuke, lying on the ground with a smile like a chrysanthemum. The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth twitched, and he held back a sentence for a long time. You are cruel, Uchiha Sasuke. You are worthy of being a talent who can use Uchiha to hug and throw you. I, Uchiha Madara, would like to call you the strongest. Uchiha Sasuke, who was laughing, suddenly froze when he heard the expression on his face when he heard Uchiha hug and throw. After a while, he held back his words and said, Uchiha Madara, you beat me and hit me, can you let me go? You don't want the group leader to think that you are ruining the atmosphere of the group, right? HMPH, Sasuke, you only have this mouth left to be tough. Uchiha Madara got off Uchiha Sasuke and patted the dust on his clothes with a look of disgust on his face. Really, that's such a pity. You can't do anything to me. Listening to Uchiha Sasuke's words, Uchiha Madara frowned. At this time, Uchiha Sasuke's body began to fade. Before Uchiha Madara could say anything more, Uchiha Sasuke's body disappeared without a trace. More than 10 meters away, a still handsome boy stood there, looking at Uchiha Madara leisurely, the kaleidoscope of his eyes still rotating. That's it. No wonder I felt a little disharmonious just now. Seeing the intact Uchiha Sasuke, Uchiha Madara was not angry, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Interesting, your kaleidoscope. If I didn't, you guessed it wrong. It has something to do with time or space, right? Or is it more similar to Izanaga's ability? Create a physical phantom that can withstand fatal damage and hide myself in nodes in different spaces before the phantom disappears. This is the ability of my left eye. Uchiha Sasuke said calmly. I'm afraid it's more than that. He was in exactly the same state as Uchiha Sasuke, and even he couldn't tell it apart. There was definitely a bigger secret. However, Uchiha Madara is not someone who gets to the bottom of things. You are qualified for my assistance, Uchiha Sasuke. Beating Uchiha Sasuke was just an interlude, and Uchiha Madara was not that stingy. Since the first beating failed, a second beating would be a bit inconsistent with his aesthetics. Seeing that Uchiha Madara seemed to give up beating him again, Uchiha Sasuke was also relieved. After all, the power of the left eye can only be used once a month. If it is beaten again, it will be really bruised and swollen, and it will turn into a pig's head. Ever since, Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Sasuke got together and sent a message to the group to clarify. Just a simple clarification. Uchiha Madara trained Uchiha Sasuke, and the video of Uchiha Sasuke being beaten was a test of Sasuke's kaleidoscope ability. It's not that my mother didn't even recognize her after being beaten by her ancestors. Well, that's what happened. Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Madara sang a double act in the group, and the group members were stunned for a while. Of course, it doesn't matter whether other people believe it or not. The important thing is that the group leader did not eliminate his position as Uchiha Madara because of this, and everyone is happy. Now that he has decided to help Sasuke, Uchiha Madara will fully assist him. This is also the pride of the Uchiha clan, the strongest man ever. Senju Hashirama. He was a fool who refused to listen to his advice and told him not to differentiate between tailed beasts. He refused to listen and allowed him to rule the ninja world, but he actually talked about mutual understanding. After the Five Shadows conference, he naively dragged himself to drink. While drinking, he said, I'm so happy, Madara, our dream, the era of mutual understanding is coming. Listening to this, Uchiha Madara really wanted to punch him. Other shadows, do you understand your ideal? What they understand is your power. 1,000 densely packed fists. However, that is all in the past. Hashirama, I will prove that you are wrong. No, there is no need for me to prove it. The 3 great ninja wars perfectly illustrate that you are going further and further down the wrong path. Uchiha Madara looked up at the sky, with a melancholy look on his face. Hashirama, next is the era that belongs to the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Madara. No, it is the era that belongs to Uchiha Sasuke. Here I, Uchiha Madara, will cut off all thorns and clear all obstacles for him, even if the opponent is the Sage of Six Paths or even his mother. Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Sasuke walked back side by side. All the members of Team Eagle, except Orochimaru, were stunned. The Uchiha clan's way of getting along, and their brain circuits are indeed different from ordinary people. Just now he was fighting to death, but now he looks like the two brothers are getting along well. Sasuke, it's great that you're okay. Xiang Ling grabbed Sasuke's arm and looked back and forth to check him. Well, I'm fine. I just tested the ability of the kaleidoscope. Sasuke also saw the scene of Xiang Lion rushing out to save him. He would be lying if he said he was not moved, but he was indeed not a person who was good at words. Is this the strongest member of the Uchiha clan? It is indeed more shocking than the picture Sasuke showed me. He holds two ghost cards, Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. Completing Sasuke's plan within 5 years is not out of reach for Orochimaru. Orochimaru, you are very good. Uchiha Madara nodded to Orochimaru. Uchiha Madara doesn't like Orochimaru's research behavior similar to that of Senju Tabarama. But it is undeniable that Orochimaru is the only seeker who can master most of the truths in the ninja world without relying on the boundaries of the blood inheritance, relying only on his own knowledge. Even among Orochimaru's men, there is this inconspicuous little guy named Yakashi Kabuto standing next to Orochimaru. In the future, he will also be a strong man who can compete briefly in 1v2 with Sasuke and Mangekyo Sharingan Itachi with the Eternal Mangekyo. In Boruto, Orochimaru relied on cloning technology to develop clones that could open the Mangekyo Sharingan and clones that could master Sage Mode. In addition, Orochimaru himself also fully analyzed that Hashirama cells, which are extremely close to the properties of the sacred tree, can regenerate severed limbs in seconds and seem to have gained immortality. For this kind of talent, it is an indispensable help in Sasuke's plan, and Madara will also give such people a certain degree of respect. Madara, what are you going to do next? After reminiscing about old times, Sasuke started asking about business. I want to use the Dragon Balls to resurrect you. Resurrection? Don't you wait until the mission is successful. Uchiha Sasuke had doubts on his face. I have made an agreement with the group leader to exchange my resurrection quota for another person's resurrection. Senju Hashirama. Maybe it's all insignificant. Uchiha Madara answered ambiguously, using the Dragon Balls to resurrect. Maybe there is no need to use Nagato's reincarnation eyes. In this case, your plan will not have too big a problem. Changes. If you want to be a savior, you must have a way to appear as a savior. For the 5 major countries, Akatsuki is a good enemy. Where's Abaida? Don't worry about him, just do what you want. Infinite moon reading and other things, just let him do it. Abido doesn't want to resurrect me anyway, right? Uchiha Madara no longer cares about infinite Tsukiyomi. I understand, Sasuke nodded. Uchiha Madara used points to summon the Dragon Ball projection. In an instant, the 7 stones turned into wishing Dragon Balls with stars 1-7. After thinking about it, Uchiha Madara sent a message to the group. Page 94. Uchiha Madara, I plan to use the Dragon Balls to make a wish. Do you want to watch the live broadcast? Vegeta, Dragon Balls, Dragon Balls. Zidu, Bulma's home. As soon as Vegeta woke up, he heard a private message from the group leader, asking him not to use the Earth's Dragon Ball to wish for immortality. Just when he was about to ask the group leader why, he saw the message on the public screen that Uchiha Madara wanted to use the Dragon Balls to make a wish. Dragon Ball. Speaking of which, this thing does exist in the chat group. He had seen the introduction of Dragon Ball on the trading platform before, but he just glanced at it. Because I can't afford it. He is a majestic Saiyan prince, but he is actually a poor man. Chapter 98. Vegeta was shocked. Dragon Ball. Is Uchiha Madara ready to be truly resurrected? Uchiha Sasuke posted a video of himself being beaten, and Bellies also saw it. But she didn't say anything, so no one was killed, right? Even through the video, Bellies could tell that the Uchiha Sasuke who was beaten was a phantom created by Sasuke's kaleidoscope ability. Then there is nothing more to say. As for the rest, Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Sasuke reconciled. They must have some kind of PY deal. But what does this have to do with her? Uchiha Madara used the Dragon Balls to resurrect himself, and after the task was completed, there were 2 resurrection places. Uchiha Madara gave his spot to Senju Hashirama. In other words, after Uchiha Madara's mission is completed, the reward is to resurrect Uchiha Izuna and Senju Hashirama. Bellies didn't know what to say. Don't you still have a few brothers? Parents can do it too, but the person you want to resurrect is actually Senju Hashirama, who stabbed you in the back. Madara, I'm afraid you're not a good person. However, this has nothing to do with Bellies. She brought the Naruto world to her own universe just to test some things, and she was not in a hurry. Bellies turned her attention to the chat group. Most of the conversations on the public screen were for Madara Uchiha to start live broadcasting. Except for a certain spike-headed Saiyan prince. He keeps at himself. The world's #1 princess. What's the matter, Your Highness the Saiyan prince? Seeing Bellies' reply, Vegeta was originally chatting with Nappa about the situation during his sleep period and the current situation of the Earth. But he didn't care at this time and directly devoted himself to the chat group. Vegeta, at Chinese letter NUMBERONEPRINCESS, group leader, what do you mean when you ask me not to use the Dragon Balls to wish for immortality? Are there any sequelae? I really don't understand why the group leader would deliberately chat about him privately. Vegeta didn't think that his face was so big that he would be worthy of being deliberately warned by a strong person like the leader of the group. The world's #1 princess. Earth's Dragon Balls wish for immortality, etc., and wishes that exceed the power of the gods and exceed the limits of the Dragon Ball's creator cannot be fulfilled. What? Sidhu, Vegeta in the medical room, suddenly stood up when he heard these words, even startling Nappa, who was peeling an apple for Vegeta, and the apples in his hand fell to the bed. Vegeta, what's wrong? Nappa looked confused. It's okay. Vegeta shook his head, picked up the half-cut apple next to him and put it in his mouth, taking a bite to calm down his shock. Nappa. Vegeta, if you want to eat, don't you know how to peel it yourself? There are so many fruits, but I just peel them quickly. The majestic Saiyan prince lives so exquisitely. Of course, Nappa would not dare to say this. I could only continue to pick up the apples on the basket with a constipated look on my face and continue peeling them. Vegeta didn't pay attention to Nappa's expression. At this time, his consciousness sank into the chat group. Vegeta, you mean my wish of immortality cannot be realized? The world's #1 princess. I also know roughly about the past and future of your world, and the boundaries of Dragon Ball are sometimes very blurry. The world's #1 princess. Wishes by nature exceed the limits of gods and usually cannot be realized. However, there are some wishes, such as resurrecting the dead, which are also possible. As if to give Vegeta time to think, Bellies' message on the public screen stopped for a while, and then continued to popularize science. The world's #1 princess. Wishes such as immortality may be subject to so-called equal exchange. The world's #1 princess. In other words, if you wish for immortality, you'll likely sacrifice all your potential, remaining stuck at 18,000 combat power forever. Alternatively, you might lose the Saiyan ability to recover from serious injuries and increase your strength. The world's #1 princess. To be specific, you may have to ask the god on Earth. He can communicate directly with the dragon, whether he can make wishes, and whether there are any consequences. Only he knows better. Vegeta, I understand. After Bellies said this, Vegeta probably knew that not all wishes could come true with Dragon Balls. Then he thought of another question, Uchiha Madara's live broadcast in the group. Vegeta, what is the difference between the Dragon Balls used by Uchiha Madara and the Dragon Balls used by God on Earth. In the God of Destruction realm, Bellies was not surprised to hear Vegeta ask this. The world's #1 princess. The difference, aren't you watching? You can resurrect people from other worlds. Also, the Dragon Balls made by the gods of the earth are not as good as mine. Vegeta. The world's #1 princess. Your Highness, are you angry? Vegeta. How dare he be angry? The #1 princess in the world. Actually, the Dragon Ball is the application of some kind of law that can bring about miracles. To put it simply, the law used by the dragon god Salama to create the Dragon Ball is similar to the law I used to create the Dragon Ball, that is, the law of the underworld. There is a coincidence, so there is common ground. Vegeta, who is the dragon god Salama? The world's #1 princess. At Vegeta, you don't think that the gods of the earth and the Namekians can create things like Dragon Balls from scratch, right? Even if they can create it, the negative energy after each wishes, they can't clear it out. The world's #1 princess. So, the Namekians can only be regarded as agents of the dragon god Salama, and they possess part of the laws given by the dragon god Salama. The world's #1 princess. At best, she is a maker or a mover. Vegeta, I see. Is that Salama very strong? How does it compare to Frieza? Vegeta didn't understand, but was shocked. The #1 princess in the world. Frieza, who only has 1.2 million, how can he compare with Salama? He will be gone after just one glance. Vegeta, so strong. Is this the power of the creator of Dragon Ball? Frieza's 1.2 million is just a matter of glance. And many more. What did the group leader just say? Vegeta reacted. Vegeta, group leader, what is Frieza's 1.2 million? You don't mean to say combat power, right? The world's #1 princess. Hey, did I spill the beans? Well, it doesn't matter, just say it. The world's #1 princess. Vegeta, Frieza, the one you want to resist, has 3 transformation forms, and the final form's combat power reaches 1.2 million. Makura Yuang, star-level strength. Although most people in the group are paying attention to the resurrection of Dragon Ball. However, there are also some bosses who are not interested in Uchiha's resurrection, but are more concerned about the conversation between the group leader and Vegeta. Sure enough, I heard quite shocking news. The #1 princess in the world. Yes, Frieza is actually a relatively powerful person in the universe of Vegeta's world. Vegeta, the bright side is stronger. Do you mean there is something stronger? The world's #1 princess. Yes, there are quite a few. Frieza's brother Gyula has a combat power of 4.9 million. The world's #1 princess. Frieza's father, King Kurd, is in the retirement stage, but he has not transformed, and his strength is 1.2 million stronger than Frieza's. I don't know whether he can transform. After all, I just passed chat group see some of the future, but not all of it. The original work did not mention whether King Cold could transform. He was killed instantly by Trunks as soon as he arrived on Earth. He was really an expired boss who was worse than a dog. He was not like Kamisato Ayaka. The information Bellies revealed made Vegeta's scalp tingle. The current Vegeta is not the Super Vegeta, who will row a boat without an oar and rely entirely on waves. In comparison, Sun Wukong and his ilk are very stable, just like the last-hitting Jinyu team. The world's #1 princess. Don't worry. In your universe, there are people stronger than Frieza and his son. Vegeta, you must learn to calm down. Chapter 99. 53 and 1.2 million, are they the same thing? Calm down. My mentality is shattered. Vegeta's mouth twitched. Page 95. I originally thought that Frieza had a combat power of 53, and if I stabilized myself, I could kill him. Now, 1.2 million Frieza, 4.9 million Frieza's brother Gyula, plus the Kurdish king who doesn't know his strength. Was it a wrong decision to resist Frieza? Vegeta, why are you always in a daze? Nappa bit the apple innocently, looking at Vegeta in a daze, a little surprised. Nappa, I might be dying. Nappa, don't joke like that. The woman named Bulma just checked your body yesterday. All your health indicators are normal. Even your body energy is far greater than that of the natives here. Nappa said, touching his head. That's not what I'm saying. I kind of doubt that my plan can't defeat Frieza. Longzhu still doesn't know if he can make a wish to live forever. He has to confirm this with the Earth God, but even if he can wish to live forever, his combat power of 18,000 cannot reach 1.2 million just by relying on his characteristics. Not to mention that Frieza is not the strongest among the ice demons. Your Highness, although I don't know what happened to you during this period of time to cause such a big change, but... Nappa paused as he spoke, and his eyes fell into memories. Your Highness, you once told me that Saiyan's clan becomes more courageous with every setback. As long as we don't give up hope, there will be no despair. My sister, Vegeta murmured. Vegeta slowly closed his eyes and entered into meditation. After pondering for a moment, his eyes slowly opened, and the confusion in his eyes gradually dissipated. Indeed, we still have time. Besides, the universe is so big. Even if we want to leave, Frieza may not be able to find us. Vegeta has a firm voice, has a chat group, and has such a powerful group leader. He didn't believe that he couldn't defeat Frieza. That's right, as long as you don't give up hope, as long as you don't die, there will definitely be a chance to fight back. Come on, Nappa. Vegeta walked off the hospital bed, picked up his battle uniform next to him, and put it on. Where are you going? Nappa also put on his combat uniform and asked in surprise. Look for Kakarot, and then go to the Namekian god. Vegeta and Nappa walked out of the room. Boom! A blue-haired woman fell to the ground. Hey! The blue-haired woman looked at Nappa helplessly, and then her eyes fell on Vegeta, who had just bumped into her. Hey, so the Saiyan Prince is awake. Native woman, who are you? Vegeta said coldly. A native woman. Bulma's face showed sullenness, but thinking that these two people were both barbaric guys, she suppressed her anger. I have a name. My name is Bulma. I said, you Saiyans, how do you treat your benefactor who feeds you, gives you shelter, and helps you with treatment? Benefactor? Vegeta was stunned and subconsciously looked at Nappa. Nappa was embarrassed for a while and explained, you fell into a coma that day. Kakarot asked this woman to pull you here and use a robot to treat you. Vegeta, what we eat and use these days are all given by this woman. Nappa knew that he could not defeat Kakarot, and Vegeta seemed to have an unclear attitude towards the Earth. Therefore, as a subordinate, Nappa did not dare to offend others casually, so he could only lick his face and act like a fool. That's it, Bulma, right? You did a good job, and I, the Saiyan Prince, am very satisfied. Vegeta was still condescending. Bulma. Bulma dusted herself off and stood up. Sure enough, one shouldn't expect thanks from the Saiyans, just like Goku. They are simple-minded guys. I said, respected Saiyan Prince, haven't your family taught you how to be polite to people who help you? Polite? The figure of the white-haired girl suddenly appeared in Vegeta's mind. Vegeta, you have to express your gratitude to those who have helped you. Even if you can't help yourself, this is a necessary courtesy. Why does the shadow of my sister appear in my mind? Although she has been dead for so many years, she has never appeared before. Ever since joining the chat group, why do I always think of her subconsciously? Vegeta sighed, looked at Bulma up and down for a while, and said in a slightly stuck tone, Thank you for your help these days. By the way, tell me, Kaka, where is Sun Wukong? I have something to ask him. Forget it. Bulma sighed, looking at the two people in front of him, especially the one named Vegeta. The so-called thank you was very hard, and even the tone was a bit deliberately made to suppress his own personality. You and the big guy next to you, go to the living room first. I'll ask Wukong and the others to come over now. To prevent the two Saiyans from running around randomly, it is better to go find Goku and the others by yourself. Following Nappa's lead, Vegeta quickly arrived at the so-called living room. This woman's family is really rich. Vegeta leaned back on the sofa and couldn't help but complain. I have been to many planets and have seen the prosperity of planetary settlements, but most of the people who live in a residence of this size are either rich or noble. The waiting time always passes quickly. After a while, the Z fighters came to Bulma's home in Zidu one after another. Hey Vegeta, you finally woke up. Sun Wukong opened the door and came in, waving his hands to greet Vegeta. Haha Kakarot, your spirit is really good. Vegeta smiled. Of course, I'm very excited when I think about fighting against a strong person like you in the future. Nappa had told him before that the two might live on Earth for a while. And it is guaranteed that it will not cause any harm to the Earth. This relationship is good. In addition to Piccolo, won't there be 2 more sparring partners in the future? Kakarot, let's talk about old things later. Vegeta's eyes swept over all the Z warriors and finally returned to Sun Wukong's position again. Have you contacted the king of the upper realm now? Vegeta, you also know the king of Kai. Sun Wukong said in surprise. My sister told me that above King Yama, there is a god called Kaio. He can detect what is happening in the universe. If you can get in touch, talk to the Kaio and see Frieza. Where are you now and what is your destination? Just guess if he comes to Earth, how much time will we have left? There is no way. Frieza has a combat power of 1.2 million, which is something Vegeta has never dared to imagine. Now he must figure out Frieza's movements, not based on previous rough speculations. There was a tracking device in the spaceship, so when Vegeta was holding the 2 spaceships, he destroyed everything related to information transmission in the spacecraft. Now, even he had no way of knowing Frieza's movements. Frieza, Sun Wukong said, his voice becoming excited, it's the one you mentioned before, Vegeta, the Emperor of the Universe with a combat power of 53. Vegeta's mouth twitched. Why is Kakarot so excited? If he comes over, our lives will be at stake. Anyway, can you get in touch? Let Kaio pay attention to Frieza's movements. Here, let me try. Son Goku, who is basically the true successor of Kaio, has a way to contact Kaio. Not long after, Sun Wukong received a message from the king of the realm. Frieza is heading to the planet Namek, and his goal seems to be the Dragon Balls on Namek. The Dragon Balls of Namek. Piccolo, who was leaning against the wall and was looking cool, turned green when he heard Frieza shoot at Namek. Although I have never been to Namek, I feel inexplicably familiar. Vegeta, you did a good job. With Goku here, Piccolo was not afraid of Vegeta's violence. So what? I just want to maximize my profits. Where did I go wrong? HMPH, so you have a way to defeat Frieza. Nappa had told them before that Frieza's peak combat power was 53, but because he knew it, he realized how unattainable that power was. Now, Vegeta was full of anger, and it was completely true. Aren't I here to discuss this with you? Frieza has 1.2 million fighting power. How can I win? Sun Wukong. Piccolo. What did you just say? 1.2 million combat power. Not only Sun Wukong and Piccolo, but the other Z warriors were also confused. 53 and 1.2 million, is this the same thing? Chapter 100, The Impending Crisis. 112 million combat power? Krillin opened his mouth wide and trembled all over. He involuntarily leaned against the wall behind him to support his body. Saiyan, what did you say about Frieza's combat power just now? Didn't you hear clearly? Vegeta glanced at the stunned Earthlings around him, as well as Kakarot, whose eyes were also filled with shock, and sneered. Frieza's normal combat power is 53, and he can transform 3 times. Behind us, the combat power is as high as 3 million. Bebe, Prince Vegeta, you didn't say that before. Even Nappa was shocked. 53, they might be able to give it a try. Page 96. It's already 1.2 million, so why fight for it? We'll just die on the same foot. HMPH, can't you not transform Frieza? Vegeta looked at Son Goku. Why, Kakarot, even you were scared. He is hailed as his rival by the group leader, but in the final analysis, he is still a low-level warrior. He is not as stable as Vegeta, which makes sense. 1.2 million, Vegeta, you really brought us a trouble. Sun Wukong scratched his head, not angry at all. Wukong, do you really know what 1.2 million combat power means? Yamcha on the side swallowed his saliva and looked at Sun Wukong, who seemed to have failed in mathematics. He was really worried that the Sun Wukong didn't know how to count, so he didn't look too nervous. I know, with a combat power of 1.2 million, it is a very powerful enemy. Warrior Z was quite speechless when he heard Wukong's tone of voice that didn't sound like comfort, but rather stated a fact. Son Wukong, Piccolo finally couldn't help it anymore. Don't tell me you can deal with such an enemy. Piccolo, who has always been in the middle of the pack, is a little reluctant to see Son Wukong in this state. Is he so far behind Son Wukong? Ha 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 ha, I still have some self-awareness. My current combat power, according to the detector that Vegeta used before, is about 10,000. If I use the Kaioken with all my might, I should be able to use 4 times that, which means 4 combat power. However, when it comes to actual fighting, I'm afraid it will only be able to exert more than 30,000 combat power. Goku explained while looking at Piccolo. You, looking at Son Wukong's expression of wanting to be beaten, Piccolo's face turned gloomy. With a combat power of 4, when had the gap between him and Son Wukong been so big? Vegeta, what about you? Son Wukong turned to Vegeta. It is said that Saiyans can increase their combat effectiveness after being seriously injured. I'm afraid your combat effectiveness has also improved, right? Are you mocking me, Kakarot? Vegeta snorted coldly. My combat power will increase by about 6,000 to around 23,000 or 24,000. Son Goku and Vegeta, this is a way to show off their strength. Piccolo's face turned pale upon hearing this. Saiyans don't have martial ethics, and being injured can actually increase their combat effectiveness. Son Goku plus 2,000, Vegeta is even more powerful, plus he is almost as strong as 2 Piccolo. HMPH, Son Goku and Vegeta, even if your fighting power is over 10,000, can you deal with Frieza? Speaking of which, his journey to Namek is over, and his next target is probably the Earth. Who are these 2 idiots, Vegeta and Nappa? There is actually a listening device in the combat power tester, and they miraculously talk about Dragon Balls. You don't need to think about it to know that Frieza's goal in going to Namek is the Dragon Balls. After that, coming to Earth again is not too unexpected. After all, you and Vegeta have rebelled against each other. As the boss, you come here to clean up the house. Is it strange? What are you afraid of? We still have more than 2 years. Vegeta said, Frieza cannot stabilize his transformation state. His strength is usually 53. As long as we use the right methods, it is not impossible to deal with him. As for Gyula and the Kurdish king, Vegeta didn't say anything, and saying it now would also demoralize them. If Frieza can't even pass the test, what difference does it make if he said it or not? You said it so easily, Saiyan. Can you guarantee that there will be no accidents later? Yamcha couldn't stand Vegeta's condescending attitude, and their current combat power was just over 1,000, and Dumpling didn't even have 1,000 combat power. You Vegeta, you have hundreds of thousands of fighting power at every turn. How can we compete with you? In the end, it's not your problem that guys like Frieza are coming. HMPH, Earthlings. Vegeta gave Yamcha a cold look. I will talk to you on an equal footing for the sake of Kakarot. Apart from Kakarot, do any of you there is no difference at all in my eyes in terms of combat effectiveness? Yamcha was so angry that he rolled up his sleeves and started fighting. The dumplings on the side, Klin plus Tianjin rice, quickly grabbed it. Although Vegeta said it hard, that's the truth. Even Piccolo, as the great demon king, was very angry at being belittled in this way, but he could not refute. His combat power is 3,500, not even as good as Bald Nappa. Didn't you see Vegeta belittle even Nappa? The big man didn't say anything. Prince of the Saiyans, you have overlooked something very important. A voice suddenly sounded. Who? Vegeta's expression suddenly changed. I am the Kaio you are looking for. Just now you asked Goku to talk to me. I roughly measured the specific time when Frieza went to Namek and came to Earth. There is a big gap between that time and the conclusion you draw from comparing your own spacecraft. You must be mentally prepared. Vegeta was stunned when he heard this. Frieza's spaceship is different from the old spaceship you and Nappa used. The spaceship he uses is one of the top technologies in the entire universe. In other words, the combined time for Frieza to go to Namek and from Namek to Earth will not exceed 3 months. What 3 months? Vegeta stood up in shock. his calm expression finally turning into panic. Not only Vegeta, but everyone present was too frightened to say anything when they heard the Kaio's words. Kaio continued to transmit messages to everyone through two antennas. Yes, according to my calculations, at the speed of Frieza's spacecraft, it will only take more than a month to reach Nank. How could this happen? In just 3 months, you can tell with your toes that it is impossible to reach 1.2 million. Although Vegeta knew that if he wanted to kill Frieza, even if he attacked first, the opponent would not have time to transform. If he wanted to kill Frieza, he would probably need more than 1 million combat power. This is only an ideal situation, not an ideal situation. Maybe, really, let Frieza transform into his final form. Damn it. Vegeta gritted his teeth. What to do, what to do? Even with my potential as a Saiyan Prince, I can't surpass Frieza in 3 months. Potential. By the way, his sister once told him that some Namekians have the power to develop the potential of others. If that's the case. Chapter 101, The Plans of All Parties. Pickers, you are a Namekian, right? Do you and those gods have the power to develop the potential of others? Piccolo was confused when he heard Vegeta's words. When did he have such power? Even if there is, I'm afraid it's only the gods. He is a demon, and the demons believe in themselves, not the support. The god and I have separated a long time ago. We are two individuals. I didn't even know that I was a Namekian before you came. Piccolo said calmly. What I mean is, if you ask me, I don't know either. Go to the temple and ask. A god? Vegeta thought that this magical Dragon Ball was made by a god, and couldn't help but feel a little curious about the god, who was said to be not very powerful. Unfortunately, Saiyan, I don't have this ability. Bobo used a magic carpet to bring the Earth God to Bulma's house. He happened to hear Vegeta's question outside the window, and the god simply replied. Bulma quickly opened the door and let Demigod and Bobo in. After all, the creator of Dragon Ball deserves some respect. He is very old and very weak. Such a Namekian can actually make Dragon Balls. Vegeta looked worse than the dark guy next to him who looked like an attendant and commented to the god. Please don't talk about gods like that, Saiyan. Bobo was a little angry. Bobo, it's okay. The god asked Bobo to step away. The god learned from everyone the details of what was discussed here. I see, the combat power of 1.2 million is really a despairing force. The god looked at Piccolo with emotion. Maybe it's time for you to make a decision. But the gods don't have much confidence in whether Piccolo and him can defeat Frieza after merging with him. Piccolo's combat power is 3,500, and his own combat power is several hundred. Even if the two numbers are multiplied after being combined, Piccolo will not be able to reach Frieza's level. You don't have this ability? Vegeta wasn't very surprised, because the god said that he was sent when he was very young. In other words, he was a Namekian who didn't pass the test. Just like Kakarot, he was sent away because he was useless. Of course, this is just Vegeta's speculation. After this, Vegeta asks about the Dragon Balls. Because they are all grasshoppers on the same line, and the gods did not hide it. Sure enough, it can't be done. Vegeta was not too surprised. I learned from the gods that if you want to obtain immortality, the Earth's Dragon Ball has no way. If you force such a wish, it will overdraw something of the wisher, such as lifespan, potential, or bloodline. Therefore, generally speaking, such a wish will not succeed unless the Creator God allows it. However, Vegeta also knew from the gods that there was something called fairy beans. Although it is very different from immortality, you can fully recover by taking one. Doesn't that mean you won't die? Page 97. However, the number of fairy beans does not seem to be much. Saiyans and other Earth warriors, although I can't help you directly, there is something called the spiritual time room in the temple, which may be useful to you. The god told everyone the news about the spiritual time house. It turns out that the Earth still has these magical things. Nappa also took a high look at the gods of the Earth. Whether it's fairy beans or this thing called the spiritual time house, I'm afraid most higher planets don't have it either. HMPH, you can only enter for 2 days, which means you can practice for 2 years. Vegeta sneered. Plus there are senzu beans. I may not be inferior to Frieza. So, after everyone made some preparations, they began to leave Zidu and go to the temple of the god. Naruto world. This wish is very simple. The red dragon's eyes shot out two red lights, which reflected on Uchiha Madara's body. In the blink of an eye, the fragments of Madara Uchiha's reincarnated body began to fall off, and then the warmth of the blood flowed from his body. Just a few seconds. On Uchiha's body, there is no trace of the reincarnation of the dirty earth. The whole person has also returned to the peak state of his youth. Uchiha Madara closed his eyes, feeling the vigorous vitality of his body, and even the abilities he had gained in the group were superimposed. Uchiha Madara slowly opened his eyes, feeling quite emotional. Stronger than I expected at my peak. The red light attached to Uchiha Madara's body returned to Shenlong's bloody eyes. Those who have gathered the Dragon Balls, your wish has been fulfilled. Goodbye. As he spoke, Shenlong's body glowed with white light. After a while, the outline of the dragon disappeared. The 7 Dragon Balls also turned into stones and fell to the ground. It's really curious why a great being who can create a creature like Shenron would pay attention to a small place like the ninja world. Orochimaru looked at the place where Shenron disappeared and then glanced at Sasuke next to him. According to the information he learned from Sasuke and Madara, Uchiha Madara is one of the group members who joined the group very early. It is not surprising that he is a veteran and his status is higher than Sasuke. Why would the group leader set the task target to Sasuke when Uchiha Madara is more powerful, but is Sasuke's assistant? Could it be that the female group leader likes Sasuke? Orochimaru shook his head and rejected his idea. How could such a great being have anything like the desires of men and women? Even if there is, you can completely solve it yourself. Just like him or her Orochimaru. Sasuke-kun, let me see how far you can go, Orochimaru thought while sizing up Uchiha Sasuke. As for Uchiha Sasuke, his eyes fell on Uchiha Madara. Madara, how is the situation? It's better than ever. It's more pleasurable than the 4th Ninja War when it pokes you in the heart. Sasuke Uchiha. Where's the Samsara eye? Haha tilde the black pupils in Uchiha Madara's eyes turned into 3 Magatama, and in an instant they turned into the shape of an eternal kaleidoscope. Then the eternal pupils disappeared and turned into circles of whirlpools. Stupid Sasuke, come to me again when you have eyes like mine. How to answer this? Sasuke's mouth twitched. Mangekyo looked at the Rinnegan opposite him, which was putting a lot of pressure on him, and said, So what about the Rinnegan? They are just like me. They are all the group leader's goods that can be used in seconds. Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Sasuke really deserves a beating, and he doesn't have the great feeling of Izuna at all. Hey, Madara, do you think that if you die again, dig out the reincarnation eyes, and then use the Dragon Balls to resurrect us, can we get an extra pair of reincarnation eyes? A wonderful idea suddenly flashed in Sasuke's mind. Hearing this, Madara Uchiha was speechless for a while. Using the Dragon Ball once costs 5,000 points, and the second time you use the Dragon Ball, the points are worth it. How many things can I buy with 10,000 points? Do I have to use Dragon Balls? Moreover, it is just a pair of reincarnation eyes. If it weren't for resurrection, for Hashira, for helping you Uchiha Sasuke, I wouldn't have come back to life so quickly. Seeing Sasuke's eager expression, Uchiha Madara explained, The Rinnegan eye is not worth 5,000 points. Of course, if you want to do that, you can summon Shenron, and I will dig out the Rinnegan eye for you. Then, you make a wish to the dragon to repair my eyes. But is this fun? Uchiha Madara spread his hands and said, Uchiha Sasuke, the layout needs to be enlarged. For the Rinnegan, let Orochimaru help you. You can do it in a while. Are you wasting the Dragon Balls? If you want the Rinnegan, Nagato has a pair. When the time comes, can you just go and get it? In the temple, looking at the slender green dragon in the sky, Vegeta fell into deep thought. Uchiha Madara made a wish live, and Vegeta paid attention to the whole process. The same Dragon Ball with 1 to 7 stars is also a divine dragon, and its way of speaking is also any wish can come true. I can't say it's the same as the dragon in the temple. I can only say it's not much different. Are the two really not related? Chapter 102, The Dragon Who Can't Realize Any Wishes. Compared with the divine dragons in the chat group, the divine dragons created by the Earth God appear to be much smaller. He doesn't look that powerful, and his words are a bit out of breath. Say your wish and gather all the Dragon Balls. I can help you realize any wish. Shenlong's lips moved slightly, and the sonorous sound echoed throughout the temple. Can you really make any wish come true? Vajita expressed doubts and glanced at the god standing behind him from the corner of his eye. That's right. Whether you want to be the richest man in the world or the king of the earth, I can help you achieve such a wish. As he spoke, Shenlong seemed to have some pride in his tone. Then let me become a Super Saiyan, Vajita said tentatively after careful consideration. Super Saiyan? Shenron's voice was stuck for a moment, and then he stared at Vajita condescendingly for a while and said, "This wish cannot be realized." Don't you think all your wishes can come true? Vajita said with contempt. The wish you mentioned is beyond the capabilities of my creator, the god. This wish cannot be realized. If you want to know how to become a Super Saiyan, I can tell you. No, you don't need to tell me this. When Shenron was talking incessantly, Vajita interrupted him directly. I know, what's the use of knowing how to transform into a Super Saiyan? Do I need you, Shenron, to tell me? I almost know it. Although the group leader didn't say it clearly, it is 100% cert that my current combat ability is not up to par. Vajita didn't play his cards as usual, and a hint of embarrassment appeared on Shenron's face. However, because his face was green and his eyes were so red, no one could see Shenron's expression. Then what else do you wish for? Shenlong continued to ask. Can you help me develop my potential? As a senior Saiyan warrior and a member of the royal family, Vajita has not trained much in these years, but Vajita firmly believes that his talent is no worse than that of the frozen demon. After Vajita finished speaking, Shenron's eyes glowed red. However, after a while, the red light quickly dissipated, and Shenlong spoke again. The wish you made exceeds the limit of God's ability. This wish cannot be realized. Vajita's mouth twitched, no longer so surprised. Isn't it the ability of the Namekians to develop their potential? Is Shenlong too rubbish, or is it the maker of Shenlong who is too rubbish? Shenron, who hadn't seen Vajita make a wish for a long time, seemed to feel a little sorry. After all, he claimed to be able to achieve any wish, but he was unable to achieve 2 wishes in a row. This is a bit of a slap in the face. Saiyan, you can make some wishes that are within the scope of the god's abilities. It doesn't matter if some of them exceed the abilities of the gods, such as resurrection and so on. You also have some wishes for the dead. Although this kind of wish exceeds the abilities of the gods, it doesn't matter. There are limits, but with my ability, I can still do it. Shenlong is already bragging about himself. I didn't see that not only Vajita, but also the gods and all the people on Earth who were looking at him, had some doubts about the power of this dragon. No, Shenlong's sign cannot be smashed into your own hands. Resurrection, Vajita thought for a moment and nodded. Then let's do this. Help me resurrect my sister Bellies. She died about 20 years ago. I'm not sure about the specific time. The time when Jinyu was injured and the time when planet Vajita was destroyed were roughly within a few days. If something happened to his sister Bellies, it might have been around that time. Vajita didn't seem to have much confidence in Shenron. After thinking about it, he added, My sister's appearance is white hair and... Searching through the vague memories in his mind, Vajita took half a minute to say everything he could think of. Page 98. Shenron pricked up his ears, listened carefully to Vajita's narration, and then began to use dragon power to search for relevant information. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. The red light in Shenlong's eyes slowly dissipated. At this time, Shenlong's tone became a little weak. Unfortunately, your wish cannot be realized. Why? Vajita asked subconsciously. Shenlong also failed to fulfill his wish 3 times, so he couldn't explain the reason, so he paused and said, Your sister Bellies disappeared about 20 years ago, shortly after the destruction of planet Vegeta. She fought with a creature called Jinyu, but in the end, the planet was destroyed by Jinyu, and your sister also lost her trace at that time. Sure enough, her sister's death was related to Jinyu. Vegeta was not surprised by this. What does that have to do with not being able to be resurrected? Could it be that you can't resurrect people who have been dead for too long? Vegeta asked doubtfully. No, it's not like that. Shenlong objected firmly. Your sister's soul is not in the underworld. How is that possible? Vegeta said in shock. My sister is so well-behaved and often does good deeds, yet she is not in the underworld. Could it be hell? Did my sister Bailey's have her memory wiped and be reincarnated? Vegeta asked, after hesitating for a moment. I don't know. Shenlong answered truthfully, my abilities are closely related to the gods of the earth. If you want to know more information about your sister, you have to find a more powerful Shenlong. Go to Namek, the homeland of dragons. There are dragons there that are more powerful than me. Maybe it can tell you the answer. Namek. Upon hearing these words, Vegeta's mouth twitched. Frieza is heading over there. After their current strength, are they planning to kill them? Cyan, do you still have a wish? As long as your wish does not exceed my ability, I can help you achieve it. Vegeta. This dragon even changed the way he spoke. Get lost, go back and forth wherever you go. Vegeta waved his hand at Shenron with a look of disgust on his face. Shenlong's face felt embarrassed, and then he coughed. If you have no other wishes for those who have gathered the Dragon Balls, then I'll take my leave. The outline of the dragon quickly disappeared and turned golden. Then, the 7 Dragon Balls flew in all directions with a whoosh sound. However, before they could fly very far, they were all intercepted by the other Z fighters who had been waiting. Shenlong said so much just now, aren't those considered wishes? Sun Wukong, who was holding the 4-star ball, couldn't help but be a little surprised when he saw that the Dragon Ball did not turn into stone. Because the wish was not successful, it shouldn't count. The Earth God was unsure when he spoke. Was he really the one who created this dragon? It feels like he knows much more than a god like him. Even Namek knows about it. Sun Wukong walked up to Vegeta, patted Vegeta on the shoulder and said, It's okay, Vegeta. Next time I go to the underworld, I'll ask the King of Hell for you. If your sister Bellies has been to the underworld, the King of Hell should have a record. Listening to Sun Wukong's words, going to the underworld is just like going home, so relaxed and comfortable. HMPH, I don't want to owe you any favors, Kakarot. Vegeta said coolly as he patted the palm on his shoulder. Don't say that, aren't you joining us now? Sun Wukong looked familiar. Chapter 103, Spiritual Time Room. Don't talk about this, hurry up and practice, we don't have much time. Vegeta was silent for a while, then said, Where is the Spiritual Time Room? It seems that I have to go to Namek. However, it depends on your own strength after coming out of the Spiritual Time Room. Okay, don't be angry, Vegeta. I'll take you there right now. Sun Wukong said while rubbing his palms. Under the guidance of Sun Wukong and the gods, everyone came to the door of the Spiritual Time House. I'll say it again, don't exceed the time. Once it exceeds 2 days, the door to the Spiritual Time House will be completely closed, and the people inside will never be able to come out. The god looked at the warriors in front of him and warned again. Wukong, you have entered the Spiritual Time Room once. You should know how much time you can stay in there, right? I know, don't worry, god. Sun Wukong also put away his smile and nodded to the god. When he first came to the temple to practice, he entered the Spiritual Time Room once in order to defeat Piccolo. However, with his strength at that time, he was not able to stay in there for long. After everyone discussed it, Sun Wukong and Vegeta were the first to enter the Spiritual Time Room. After all, the two are equally powerful. As for Piccolo, he has been reduced to the 2nd echelon. After Goku and Vegeta came out, Piccolo and Nappa entered. Then came the others. Let's go, Vegeta. HMPH, don't order me. Vegeta was quite speechless towards Sun Wukong's familiar attitude. However, for the sake of strength, he could only follow Sun Wukong from his heart and enter the spiritual time room. The two stepped into the spiritual time room. Vegeta instantly noticed the huge gap between the spiritual time room and the outside world. 2 years. To be honest, after observing for a while, Vegeta felt the pressure on his body. In his heart, he was a little unsure about his initial vow to stay there for 2 years. However, if you can practice in such a place, you might really be able to reach a combat strength of more than 53 in 2 years. Vegeta shook a few fairy beans in his hand. What's more, with these things, the combat effectiveness will definitely be further improved. Hey, Vegeta, let's have another fight. Here we don't have to worry about the planet being destroyed with all our strength. Sun Wukong's face showed an expression of eagerness to try. Vegeta. He can use Kaioken to exert 4 times the fighting power, so he said he could fight with me. Do you want face? If you want to hit me, just say so. However, as a Tsundere prince and a superior warrior, even if Vegeta is reluctant, his expression cannot show even a hint, and he even accepts Sun Wukong's challenge happily. HMPH, Kakarot, are you sure you're going to defeat me? Vegeta made a gesture of raising his hand. Come on, do you think I'm afraid of you? Not long after the words fell, the two disappeared on the spot. There was a sound explosion in the space. Sun Wukong's body rose with fiery red flames, which shone clearly in the space. Apparently, he activated Kaioken. Boom! With one punch, Vegeta was knocked away. Sun Wukong gasped, "How about Vegeta?" Cut! Vegeta wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly, "So what if your fighting power is higher than mine? I am a Saiyan prince who has experienced hundreds of battles." With a roar, Vegeta, who was proud of the Saiyan prince, raised white flames all over his body and rushed towards Sun Wukong. Boom! Bang, bang, bang. The fists met, and every time they fought, there was a terrifying concussion sound in the space. The speed of the two is getting faster and faster. Suddenly, Vegeta distanced himself from Sun Wukong. Kakarot, follow my move. He condensed countless air bombs with his hands and fired them intensively in the direction of Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong did not resist when he saw this, and relied on the speed of the Kaio fist to fly quickly through the low altitude of the spiritual time room. Countless air bombs hit the ground and made a roaring sound. Sun Wukong dodged easily. A golden disc flew sideways towards Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong's expression changed, and he quickly took off and accelerated. Page 99. The Qi Yuan slash passed through his feet. Sun Wukong wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and complained in his voice, "Vegeta, do you want to kill me?" Qi Yuan slash is Klin's move, and he also knows the power of this move. It is a very scary thing. Kakarot, you have fairy beans in your hand. What are you afraid of? Vegeta retorted. Then, a huge super afterburner fell from the sky. Turtle-style Qigong. Sun Wukong also quickly gathered his energy, and blue-white light waves were released from his hands. The collision of the two energy waves made the surrounding air make a sizzling sound. Not long after, Vegeta and Son Goku's positions on the wave were unstable due to energy collision. Boom! There was an explosion. A huge plume of smoke rose in the middle. Son Goku and Vegeta exit from the explosion smoke. The embarrassed Sun Wukong looked at Vegeta, who seemed to be unharmed, with a look of resentment on his face. "You're cheating, Vegeta. You're actually fighting me with a fairy bean in your mouth." Originally, he had the upper hand in the fight, but Vegeta's energy suddenly increased, which was no less than what he could achieve with 3 times the Kaioken. Sun Wukong instantly knew that Vegeta had cheated and must have taken the fairy beans to activate his passive. HMPH, I didn't say you couldn't use fairy beans before the war started. Vegeta curled his lips. This fairy bean is indeed a treasure. Just knock one, and it will improve so much. Vegeta saved the fairy beans. Sun Wukong said earnestly, "We are going to Namek, so you don't want to snatch other people's fairy beans in the future. This is not good." Kakarot, in your eyes, am I such a despicable person? Vegeta made a tic-tac-toe on his forehead. Unexpectedly, I heard Vegeta speak like this. Sun Wukong actually thought for a while and nodded seriously. You, Vegeta gave Sun Wukong a vicious look. Kakarot, you can practice by yourself, and I will practice by myself. With that said, Vegeta ignored Sun Wukong and ran directly to the other direction of the spiritual time room. At this time, Vegeta was not practicing, but opened a chat group. Uchiha Madara's live broadcast seems to be continuing. In a not-so-wide room, Uchiha Madara looked at a short old man with an extremely unruly expression on his face. The old man and the person who looked like a bodyguard beside him glared at Madara Uchiha. In addition to anger, there was actually a trace of fear in his eyes. You, Uchiha Madara, what exactly do you want to do? A short old man with a big nose. His hands were trembling, but his voice was very loud. Onoki, you are so powerful, you dare to yell at me. The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in Uchiha Madara's eyes changed again, instantly turning into a Rinnegan. And just before the Rinnegan eye fully appeared, all the ninjas except Onoki, Akatsuki, Kuretsuchi, and Hyuntu fell unconscious instantly. Your eyes, those are the Samsara eyes. Onoki said, suddenly reacting and looking at the ANBU who had completely collapsed beside him. What did you do to my men? Don't worry, I didn't kill them. I just said some words that shouldn't be heard by these people. Uchiha Madara put one hand on the Tsuchikige's desk, stepped down from the Tsuchikige's position, and then pressed Uchiha Sasuke into the Tsuchikige's position. I want Sasuke Uchiha to become the fourth Tsuchikage. Which of you is in favor and who is against it? Onoki. Others. Chapter 104, the fourth Tsuchikage, Uchiha Sasuke. Becoming the fourth Tsuchikage. Onoki was stunned for a moment, and the Black Earth, Red Earth, and less next to him were also shocked and speechless. I don't know how Madara Uchiha survived and was still so young. However, the purpose of Uchiha Madara and his group sneaking into the Iwa ninja village was to make Uchiha Sasuke the fourth Tsuchikage. Onoki once quietly released Dust Release on Uchiha Madara, but Uchiha Madara blocked it with his hand. Moreover, I don't know how the other party did it. Until he saw Uchiha Madara's Sharingan, which turned into the Eye of Creation, the Samsara Eye. He then understood that Uchiha Madara's eyes might be able to absorb ninjutsu. However, none of this is important. What is important is why you let one of your juniors become a Tsuchikage. According to the relationship between you and Senju Hashira, you should also look for Konoha. The Hokage is what you should be, not the Tsuchikage. Madara-sama, why do you want this Uchiha boy to become a Tsuchikage? Since the other party is not here to destroy the Iwa ninja village, and he and others are under the roof, he should be respectful. Anyway, Uchiha Madara is much older than him, so there is no shame in calling him. Sasuke, show Onoki a trick. Uchiha Madara glanced out of the corner of his eye and saw Uchiha Sasuke sitting on the chair. Uchiha Sasuke nodded when he heard this and stretched out the fingers of his right hand. Suddenly, a pale square energy block appeared on the fingertips. This dust escape. Onoki saw an incredulous look in his eyes when he saw the familiar formula on Sasuke's finger. That's right, Uchiha Madara said. During the Warring States period, Uchiha had a certain relationship with the Kingdom of Thunder. He originally wanted to go to the Kingdom of Thunder to find a Raikage, but Sasuke could actually learn Dust Escape, so he temporarily changed plans. Uchiha Madara looked at the people in front of him and smiled. Onoki, you and I are old acquaintances. Perhaps it would be better to discuss the Tsuchikage's position. Onoki. Uchiha Madara, what do you think Cage is buying food at the wet market? You can take your pick. Of course, Onoki would not dare to say such words. If Uchiha Madara is angered, Uchiha Madara still has the Samsara Eye, and the Iwa ninja village is waiting to be destroyed. Specifically, we've already spoken to the other two guys. Orochimaru. Uchiha Madara glanced at Sasuke and saw Orochimaru standing to his left without speaking. Orochimaru nodded. Make a seal with your hands. Reincarnation from dirty soil. Without knowing what was going on, two coffins rose from the ground. Coffin board dropped to the ground. The appearance of the two people in the coffin was revealed. You, Orochimaru, you deserve to die. Onoki was furious because the two people in the coffin were so familiar. Haha, don't be angry, Your Excellency the Third Tsuchikage. Maybe your conversation with them will change your behavior towards me a lot. Orochimaru grinned and didn't care. Digging up people's ancestral graves will definitely be frowned upon. From the coffin, two men who were much taller than Onoki came out of the coffin. One of them has a slender figure, while the other is relatively tall, even rough. Onoki, you are old. The bandaged man looked at Onoki for a while, then looked at the people next to him. Are they your children? It seems like many years have passed. The next person to speak was a middle-aged man with a long beard who looked older. The first Tsuchikage-sama, the second Tsuchikage-sama. Onoki was very angry with Orochimaru for disturbing the deceased. But when he saw his two former mentors, memories appeared on his face. The first Tsuchikage Ishikawa, the man who founded the Iwa ninja village. The second generation, Tsuchikage Wu, is a practitioner of dust release, and the teacher who taught him dust release. You two tell Onoki what happened. Uchiha Madara waved his hand and motioned for them to go out and talk. Ishikawa and Wu nodded. Uchiha Madara had seen the two of them before, and they knew what to do. In other words, they are not very disgusted with it. Ishikawa and Wu walked out of the Tsuchikage office, and Onoki and his party followed them out even though they were doubtful. At this time, only Uchiha Madara, Orochimaru, and Uchiha Sasuke were left in the office. Page 100. Madara-sama, do you think Onoki will agree? Orochimaru asked in a hoarse voice. Uchiha Madara did not answer Orochimaru's question and turned his gaze to the boy sitting in the Tsuchikage seat. Sasuke, what do you think? Since Sasuke plans to become a Tsuchikage, he must have the ability to think independently. As for him, Uchiha Madara, he only needs to remove obstacles for Sasuke, that is, to improve his strength as much as possible. I will agree. Sasuke crossed his hands on the table and made a thoughtful expression. Our joining will only benefit them, not any harm. Moreover, Onoki is getting old and needs a successor. Haha, Sasuke, you are so confident. Orochimaru grinned. No wonder you want to learn dust release, but is your other ability of Manjikayo copying. You can learn how to eliminate blood by just watching it a few times. I have to say that the ever-changing kaleidoscope is really jealous sometimes. It's not a very powerful ability. It just allows the bloodline to adapt to a certain bloodline limit or bloodline elimination. But would release like the first Hokage's can't be copied. Sasuke shrugged, and the cooldown period is a year. In other words, it is to skip the necessary process of learning the blood inheritance limit or blood inheritance elimination, and then become a person with the ability of the blood inheritance limit or blood inheritance elimination in one fell swoop. However, it is the initial state. Only for basic attributes such as wind, fire, thunder, water, and earth, compound blood inheritance has a copy function. There is nothing that can be done about the eye technique or the blood succession related to yin-yang escape. While waiting, Uchiha Sasuke put his consciousness into the chat group. Uchiha Sasuke, group leader, is it okay if I do this? It is planned to use one of the 5 major countries as a fulcrum to leverage the entire ninja world. Of course, the rest of the plan will be discussed later. They have to keep a low profile now. There are 6 immortals in the ninja world, and Otsutsuki Ishiki is lying down somewhere. Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Madara, who know everything, are not so arrogant and think that they can push everything equally. At least Uchiha Madara thinks there is no rush now, and will wait until I reach the 6th level before going out to face my ancestors. The world's #1 princess. You can consider the process yourself, I only want the result of the task. With Vegeta joining, he doesn't need to be so concerned about Uchiha Sasuke. What's more, the reason why he is special to Sasuke is because his personality is somewhat similar to Vegeta's, and his life experience is relatively pitiful, that's all. Uchiha Sasuke, okay, I understand. Uchiha Madara also closed the live broadcast room at Sasuke's signal. After all, there was no climax to broadcast. It can't be done. Onoki plans to bring the entire Iwa ninja village with him and fight them to the death. At this time, Vegeta took a look at the live broadcast, but didn't say much. When asking for help, you should have a better attitude. People in the group should try their best not to offend. Vegeta, group leader, can you tell me how to transform into a Super Saiyan? Also, do you know the place called the Spiritual Time House? The world's #1 princess. Going to the Spiritual Time Room so soon? Has Son Goku already defeated Frieza? Vegeta. What does it mean for Son Wukong to defeat Frieza? Shouldn't it be him, an elite warrior, who defeats Frieza? The world's #1 princess. Sorry, where are you now? Have you returned from Namek? Vegeta, group leader, I don't quite understand what you said. Is what you just said a given future? The world's #1 princess. Almost. In the God of Destruction realm, Bellies reacted a little. It seemed that it didn't take long. Even if the chat group caused the group members' world time to flow very quickly, it seemed that it shouldn't be so fast. Vegeta, did Kakarot defeat Frieza in the original future? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Chapter 105, How to Transform into a Super Saiyan. Vegeta, did Kakarot defeat Frieza in the original future? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Just a low-level soldier, with a combat power of over 1.2 million. In other words, Frieza didn't transform and was defeated by Kakarot. This is even more impossible. Although they didn't get along for long, Kakarot's personality is probably not as decisive as Vegeta's. 100%, it will give Frieza a chance to transform. The group leader also said that Kakarot defeated Frieza. Could it be Super Saiyan? A transformation that increases basic combat power by 50 times. Only in this way can it be possible to defeat Frieza at his peak. Apart from Super Saiyan, Vegeta couldn't think of a way for Kakarot to defeat Frieza. Vegeta, you mean Kakarot turned into a Super Saiyan before me? The world's #1 princess. Vegeta, you are very self-aware and know that you are not the first to become a Super Saiyan. Vegeta. How could I lose to a lower-level warrior? I do not believe. Veins popped out on Vegeta's face, and pale aura erupted from his body. The explosion of more than 3 combat power made Monkey King in the distance look sideways. But thinking about Vegeta, he didn't even want him to come with him. Son Wukong was very sensible and didn't go over to show off his warm face and cold butt. Vegeta saw the message in the chat group that the group leader sent to the public screen again. The #1 princess in the world. Vegeta, tell me what happened to you during this time, and I will consider whether to tell you how to become a Super Saiyan. Silence, a long silence. Vegeta finally gave in. As arrogant as he is, he still puts down his pride. Then keep hypnotizing yourself. Pretending to regard the group leader as his sister. After all, they have the same name, so he will definitely be able to find out how to become a Saiyan. Damn it, no matter what, we can't lose to Kakarot. Vegeta suppressed his blush and suppressed his pride. Tell Bellies exactly what happened during this period. The #1 princess in the world. It's so interesting, you actually plan to use the Dragon Balls to find your sister. The world's #1 princess. However, it seems that the Dragon of the Earth is not powerful enough. The world's #1 princess. At Vegeta, are you going to Namek next? Vegeta, yes, after the training in the Spiritual Time Room is over, I want to go to Namek, so please tell me how to become a Super Saiyan. The #1 princess in the world. Well, since everything has become like this, there is no point in hiding the Super Saiyan thing from you. The world's #1 princess. If you want to become a Super Saiyan, you need to have a normal combat power of more than 300 million, and you must have a peaceful heart and extreme anger. Vegeta, why should you have a peaceful heart and extreme anger? He understands the basic combat power, and so on. It is said that transformation definitely requires a certain amount of preliminary strength, but he is not clear about the latter too. Peace of mind and extreme anger sound contradictory. The world's #1 princess. A peaceful heart can increase the number of cells needed to transform into a Super Saiyan. These cells are called S cells. Only with enough S cells can one be qualified to become a Super Saiyan. The world's #1 princess. Then there is extreme anger, which can guide S cells to react to the body, especially in terms of chi. The world's #1 princess. Concentrate the S cells guided by this extreme anger to the position of your back, and then explode, and you can become a Super Saiyan. The world's #1 princess. How is it? Is it very simple? Vegeta, Super Saiyan, that's it. He is sure to reach the 300 million combat power stage, but how can he achieve this peaceful heart and extreme anger? Vegeta hesitated for a while, then entered his question on the public screen. Vegeta, at Chinese letter, FIRST princess, with a peaceful mind and extreme anger, is there any specific method? The world's #1 princess. This is very simple. Get rid of the Saiyan's beast instinct and let your heart be in a state of no thoughts. In fact, you will know it just think about Sun Wukong. Vegeta, you mean make me as heartless as Kakarot? The world's #1 princess. Well, you can think so if you want. The world's #1 princess. As for extreme anger, when planning to transform, arouse your emotions and think of things that make you angry. The #1 princess in the world. For example, the scene of you being bullied by Frieza, the scene of King Vegeta being killed by Frieza, the scene of grief and anger, or the scene of your sister being trained by the enemy to become R. In short, just find a way to make yourself angry. The world's #1 princess. How about it? Isn't it very simple to say this? Looking at the information on the public screen, Vegeta thought for a long time. Vegeta, in the established future, how does Kakarot transform? As he spoke, Vegeta quietly glanced at Kakarot, who was practicing in the distance. The #1 princess in the world. Well, because he saw you and Krillin being killed by Frieza one after another, he became a Super Saiyan out of extreme anger. Vegeta, I died in Frieza's hands. I originally wanted to find out the news about Kakarot's transformation, but I ended up getting the wrong news. Will he die and be killed by Frieza? All right, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.